Welcome to Kick. Welcome to Kick. Welcome to Kick. Welcome to Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly. Good evening, everyone. Tuesday. Good evening, everyone. I like to keep the show to about 90 minutes. Kippolicious. Be sure you get that schmedium every Tuesday night. Full tilt boogie. Kippolicious. Good evening, everyone. Twisted Tea. Good evening, everyone. Be sure you get that schmedium. Twisted Tea. Hippopotamus. Cold beverage. Schmedium. Midler. Out in BFE. Out in BFE. At the end of the day, full. Good evening, everyone. Tuesday. Full tilt boogie.
It's been a long road since the original Kicker christened that first pickup truck. It kicked off a car audio renaissance, and upgrading your music in a vehicle was a requirement. America's music machines became living loud over your passion, your emotion, your existence. Outdoors or on the open road, your sound is Kicker.
We're here at the Denso NHRA 4Y Nationals here in Las Vegas. Man, we have got two-time funny car, top fuel champion, Cruz Pedregon here, icon of the sport. Dude, we just so appreciate you taking the time. But I got to ask you, so we know in 1986, you were driving go-karts, and a year later, you're in a dragster. What made that change of going from wanting to do, track racing to running down straight track racing?
I started out with something I could afford, so there was a little dirt track, or a few dirt track races in Southern California that I started racing. Like I said, I could afford it. They're still expensive, but I always had my eye on drag racing. So I caught the eye of an owner that had a low budget team, started out very humble beginnings. I basically worked for food. I worked to race for nothing. So, but I started out, you couldn't have started out further down the ladder than I did, but I'm glad I did because I was able to parlay that into driving for a bigger team through the years, won a championship, and here we are. I own my own team. I've been in business for like 15 years now, or 20 years on my own with Snap-on and KICKER and all the great sponsors, so very exciting time.
Cruz, we know you're super passionate about what you do. We're curious, what drives you, what refuels you off the track when you're at home?
Well, I have a daughter now, so it's, I just love my daughter. She's going on 8 years old, so, priorities change a little bit, but I've always had this passion for racing, so much so that that's all I would do morning, noon, and night. I would think about it when I got up. I, go to bed at night. Racing was my entire life, and it still is, but I share a little bit of that during the off time with my daughter Raya and my girlfriend Melissa. So, it's one of those things where the desire to perform at this level and to do it, I feel like I have my best years ahead of me. I have so much more experience than I did when I started out that I want to put that to good use. So here we are.
That's awesome. Well, man, I tell you, KICKER is super proud to be associated with you. We're blessed to be part of the team and helping out. And hey, now that we've got this killer PA system back here jamming the pits, what's that mean for you and your team and your guests and everybody in your organization?
Well, having a brand like KICKER, number one, is an honor for us. Really, I know it's a brand that goes way back. Heck, we've all heard of them. So for them to be, you guys support us like you do is really an honor for us. But we want to do our part on the racetrack and put your guys' name out there. But as far as what you guys just created for us was really cool. I didn't have any idea the quality of sound with all the noise, all the race cars starting, all the voices and all the generators running, that we could still hear loud and clear the PA system. So thanks to KICKER, great product, and we have a lot of Snap-on guests that are invited to come out here as part of the customer service to say thank you to the Snap-on customers for buying the tools. So it's a great opportunity for us to speak to them but not have to yell. So they appreciate it. Like I say, the brand speaks for itself. It's quality. So we're tickled to have them.
Well, thank you so much, man. Look, after 32 some years of blasting down the track, pulling 4Gs, what keeps you pushing to do this, man?
It's amazing because you never get used to these cars. Like, my eyes still burn like everybody else. They're still loud, but they accelerate. Every run is like a new run. You never know what they're going to do, but I feel like I have a little bit less stress because I kind of know what the car is supposed to do and what it feels like to make a good run. So, like I said, as a driver, yeah, I've got a few miles on me, but I think in this sport, you can still be a little older and still be able to perform at a high level. So that's what I look at as I don't feel like I'm a deficient guy in this driver's seat. If anything, I hope I can bring something to it. But the day's gonna come, hey, I'm an owner and I have a fast car. The day's gonna come where, hey, I'm gonna wanna look at a younger driver and somebody, to replace me so I can maintain ownership and maybe tune that guy into a championship or gal, whoever. So, but it's a business. I look at it as a business. It has to make sense down the road, but I'm not looking, I'd say another 4 or 5 years in this seat, I'm good.
Hey, I know you're running tight on time. You got a last qualifying run. Again, we're blessed to be with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We love you, brother.
Guys, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
See you.
frequencies detected emanating from the heavens. Saucer-shaped objects confirmed all over the world. Unidentified flying K saucer spotted delivering Kicker's amazing new Comp-Q Subwoofer. Built for precision, built for abuse, built for the future and benefit of mankind. Kicker's new Comp-Q woofer leaves audiences astounded and amazed as it reveals subtleties in their favorite music in a way that is sure to make women blush and grown men cry. The surround features Kicker's variable cross-section high-roll design, allowing extended cone travel and excellent cone control. It's firmly attached to the cone, reinforced with our iconic stitching. Betsy Ross would be so proud. The injection-molded solo cone and laser X cone brace combined in a single ultra-rigid unit. Venting in the brace relieves performance-robbing back pressure. All this adds up to very low distortion and amazingly clean low bass. The progressive roll blue lace spider adds even more cone control at maximum excursion. The woven tinsel leads are sandwiched between the spider and the lace for durability and long life and to prosper. The spring terminal's heavy-duty square design accepts wires as big as 8-gauge or two 12-gauge wires for multi-sub installations. The high-temp voice coil is rumored to be spun upon the looms of the gods of polyamide fiberglass, along with a reinforced former for high strength and power handling. Now, add colossal magnets, plus a cavernous bump back plate, an extended pole piece created in a single forging, the likes that haven't been seen since the creation of Poseidon's trident. And the result is a driver with superior control and effective heat dissipation that extreme performance demands. The all-new KICKER Comp-Q is designed from the ground up to deliver everything you demand from a premium subwoofer. High output, deep, powerful, accurate bass, remarkably small enclosure requirements, stunning good looks, and not to mention the ability to frighten small children when turned up to 11. So there you have it, the all-new KICKER Comp-Q subwoofer, another zenith of innovation and epic majesty from KICKER.
I built my first speaker to be louder. I was playing in a band and the drummer played so loud and the keyboard that I had wouldn't play very loud, and I went to my dad and said, I need a bigger speaker. It's a Fender Bandmaster, it costs $300. He dropped the newspaper. It said, $300? Yeah, but he didn't say no. He said, is it something that we could build? And so that's how I got started building speakers. The thing that I love to see is a product that we made and get to stand back kind of anonymously and watch somebody take a look at it, listen to it, and go, wow. I think that's what really lights my fires, to make products that people enjoy and have fun with. As time went on, I heard people say, you know, KICKER's like a family. I actually didn't set out to do that. I thought it sounded kind of hokey. I thought they were insincere and just saying that. After a few years, I realized, yeah, maybe that's what we've got. And that's the key, is the good people on your team in the band that makes the band really great. Well, I think KICKER is primarily a lifestyle company. That's a little backwards of where I started. I thought we were a technology company and we would make great products, but as time went on, realized that it's about people and helping people to enjoy their life and what they do. And that's what I do too. So share the love a little bit, I guess.
I want to tell you a little story about a man named Kip. Poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was out shooting at some food, and up through the ground came a bubbling crude. Oil, that is. Texas tea. Well, the next thing you know, old Kip's a millionaire. Kinfolk said, Jet, move away from there. Said Stillwater, Oklahoma is the place you ought to be, so I loaded up the truck and I moved the whole family. Stillwater, that is. Homasonic drive-ins, summers that are hotter than hell. I'm back. Good to see everyone. Obviously, it's Kip. It's Tuesday night. Welcome to Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly. I'm still fighting a little bit of things in my throat. Get that out of here. You don't need that. Oh, it's good to be back, guys. Actually, Monday was my first day back that I came back into the office. Carlos not going to leave me alone. How you doing, Carlos?
Good, man. You?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back. It's Tuesday night. I know that we had it was going to be you and Ken on tonight.
It was me and Ken, and then myself and John, and then myself and Ken. But you know what? It's better with Kip. I love those guys, but man, we haven't hung out since Miami.
We haven't.
It's been a while, man.
It's been too long.
Yes. No, there's nobody else that's listening to the same music as I do when
It doesn't matter. You're always forced to listen to whatever music you listen to. I don't have a choice. I'm gonna listen to it.
Oh man. Well, thank God for this Lysol.
Thank God for that.
Put this back over here.
You know, there's some new features in StreamYard we've got going on with Bill's been playing with, and I'm playing with as well. Obviously, you know, I'm going to just pop some up here. Hello, Kicker family and Bill Frog. Hey, Bobby, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Of course, got Basehead 32 to Tuesday. Yeah, that's the way it rolls. You know that. I got to get, and there's no way that I could personally thank every single individual by name, so I'm not going to. So I'm going to make this just a big thank you. You know, the last 3 weeks, as you know, I've been out fighting a bug. And a lot of you, I've seen you on a couple other feeds. Andy actually talked me into a 4-hour marathon 2 Tuesdays ago, which was crazy. Talked to a lot of you then. And then Base Wars feed last night, unfortunately, Travis couldn't join. So actually Andy and myself got in the feed and did a little talking. And there's a lot of you that have reached out to me personally through social media or direct messaging or even just through the Kicker page, expressing concern and asking questions. And I have to say, that touches me a lot, and I certainly appreciate you guys and gals out there asking. Glad to be back. As you can hear my voice, I'm not 100%, but compared to where I was, I'm 1,000% better, and I am glad to be here. Glad to be here with you.
Well, we got to spray Tim now. You got
yeah,
I've got it over there.
I coughed on.
Happy to have you here, Kip, man. I'm glad you're doing much better. I hope you learned that 5-second rule. That's not really a thing.
Man, it's on the ground it's still good. It's a Thin Mint. I'm not letting it go. It just isn't happening.
They are refreshing.
If you want to get me, throw Thin Mint on the ground, because I'm not. It's coming up here.
Well, see, I hope you learned too that actual street
Andy?
tacos. You don't order street tacos. You don't know where they've been. Just
That's
get
true.
tacos, man.
Jimmy Pittman, welcome back, Jimmy. I've been trying to see a lot of the comments in here, guys, and try to get you guys up here on the screen. Chris Raddick, hey, glad to have you back, Chris. It's great to be back. Thank you for that, man. It's everything. Kicking it live and kicking it with Kicker. Jose Giraldez, maybe I said that right. Hopefully I got it right. Jose, if I've got your last name wrong, I presume. Yes, there you go. Whatever he said.
Trying to French up his name, man.
French it up. Kipples, there's a new one.
I like that one. Kipples, man.
I think Kipples might have to go into version 2 of the Kip Wrap when we decide to do that.
Yeah, we need to get you a gold chain with a nameplate. Kipples.
Man, don't do that. Don't do that. Well,
if any one of you guys want to make it and send it to Kipples over here, I think he'd wear it for a show or two.
Man, Jose's on a roll here. Kizzle my nizzle. For shizzle. Hey, Jeff Wallace, I see you out there too, man. Welcome back, man. Jeff, thank you for that comment. I certainly appreciate that. Thank you for that. Michael Davis, welcome back, Kip, man. It's glad to be back. Thank you for giving a shout out. I'll try to catch more of these as I see them with this new thing here. There's actually 2 areas to look, but I'll let Bill try to do some work and hit some stars. If he throws them to the star, at least I can find them. So tonight, you know, obviously I've missed having a meal with the family here. And tonight in the studio, as always, I'm back, which is great. We have Carlos from the Tech Force joining us. Behind camera, he's going to be taking care of duty as always, is Mr. Tim Smith. He is a godsend to us behind camera. And then backstage, as always, we got Ernie on the master switcher. We got Bill over there taking care of social and everything. And JW, he's also helping on the StreamYard feed, keeping things going. Yeah, there's everybody back there. That's good. Thank you for that feed there, Ernie. I appreciate that. So it's it's glad, it's great, it's refreshing, and I'm so excited to be back in the studio with all these guys who I consider my work family. We decided to go to a place called I can't say this and not think of Limp Bizkit. I mean, we did it for the Nookie. So we went to Nookie.
Yeah, we had some nice poke bowls,
and
man.
That was my first time to ever have a poke bowl.
They were pretty delicious, right? The tuna's the way to go, man.
Here's when you know something's good in my book. I'll eat it again.
There you go.
I'll definitely eat it again. So we went to Nookie tonight and had dinner. That was great. It was a new experience for me to have a poke bowl. So as always, a shout out to Steve, Becky, and the entire management team for allowing us to break bread together here before the show. It really helps us out a lot because we're here in the studio. We're setting up the props and everything we're going to go through. So being able to not have to worry about running out and getting something to eat at home or elsewhere and then coming back really helps us make the show streamlined. So we appreciate you guys allowing us to break bread together. And it's a way where we can kind of talk about what we're going to do on the show.
Yeah,
which is always good. So with that said, who's here tonight? We got to roll right into it. If you're new to the show, you don't know anything about this. If you're an old timer who's been coming for the last year plus, we do a weekly contest every Tuesday night. We kick it off right at 7:15. We call it the pre-roll show at 7:15. Ernie's got some great videos of kicker events and all this stuff that he puts together every week. We roll those. Sometimes it's a repeat. Sometimes there's some new stuff. But he rolls that. So at 7:15, we open the door to that, and it's kicker.com/UM Weekly. And Ernie, if you could real quick, if you don't mind, bring my laptop up as an asset so that I can kind of just show these people real quick. And what we've got going on here, if you just go to kicker.com/UM Weekly, this is tonight's contest. It was kicked off at 7:15. You have any time from now until 8:30. And when we talk times here, guys, remember it's always Central Time because we're here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. That's Central Time area code or area zone. And tonight's grand prize, we're going to give away a set of Cush NC Bluetooth headphones, a couple of koozies, and of course that famous or infamous Kicker UnMasked live t-shirt. Second place tonight will get the Tabor 2s, the koozies, and the t-shirt. And then last but not least, third place, you're going to get a set of EB400 wireless earbuds.
Those are good.
Yeah, those are good. A set of Kicker koozies and a limited edition Kicker UnMasked live t-shirt. And I know Sandy throws some other stuff in that prize box, so it's not just those items. I think anyone who's won a prize on UnMasked knows it's a pretty generous package, and everyone loves getting them. We love being able to do this. This is just one way that we can reach out, and you get some experience with great Kicker products, and it just helps to build the community, and we certainly appreciate that. But you have until 8:30, so anytime between now, 8:30, be sure you hit that link, kicker.com/UM Weekly, enter the contest. It's very easy. Just scroll to the bottom once you get there. You click the I agree to join the Kicker newsletter. That'll get you into the continue. You can hit continue, then you can answer the questions, enter the contest. We do want to get you into our monthly newsletter. That's what you're agreeing to get when you do that. Once you enter the contest and you agree to the newsletter, if you decide you don't want the newsletter, you can opt out of the newsletter. We do send you it's like 2FA, we send you an email to confirm you want to continue to get the newsletter. If you don't want it, just opt out of it. This is our mechanism to get you into the contest. So
it's a pretty cool newsletter too. It's not like junk mail and
it's once a month. We don't hit you up too much. We're not like that company that sends you an email every hour.
Yeah.
You got those? I know what those are. We do it once a month, and it's a great newsletter if you're interested in Kicker product and what's going on in the Kicker world from both a product and an event standpoint. So that's a great one. The next one that's going on, and this happened, I got to give a huge shout out. I'm going to thank them more times than I can, the entire Kicker tech force for stepping in and taking over while I couldn't be here. But this was actually 2 weeks ago, last Tuesday, that you guys did. It was John and Ken who did the speaker presentation and talked about box designs and different boxes, and John had the 3 different enclosures that he built up here. We're actually giving these enclosures away. It's our choice. You don't get to pick which one. It's a sealed box, there's a ported box, and there's a bandpass box. We're going to randomly pick the winner, so there's going to be 3 winners. There's not really a grand prize or a second or third. It's just 3 people will randomly select, and you're going to get one of these boxes. Loaded with woofer, carpeted, and ready to go. This contest is going to run for another 13 days, if I remember right. Yep, 13 days. This is kicker.com/giveaway. Bill promotes this through all of our social media stuff, so be sure you hit it through there or just go to the link directly. You have 13 days. You can enter this contest tonight or anytime tonight, anytime tomorrow. You've got a total of 13 days left to enter this contest. We'll draw 3 lucky winners, and they're going to get an enclosure built by John, loaded with Kicker subs.
Speaking of John, do you know if he figured out the iPad or did Ernie just yank it?
I think the iPad is gone for John for a while. We're going to send him back to Ed. We're going to give him a little educational training and
just give him a notepad, man. He does great with that.
We called over to Tulsa. He's got an appointment at the Apple Store. He's going to go over and do a little education. So that's the 2 giveaways going on with Kicker. I want you guys to know about the nightly one we always do, and then currently we've got this one going on. We're giving away those boxes. Enter those contests, guys. It's all for you. We appreciate doing it. We appreciate getting winners and enjoying some of these great products. On top of that, we'll bounce over to kicker.com on our Facebook page. If you ever want to know what's going on in the Kicker world as far as events, always go to the Facebook page for Kicker, click events, and usually there's a button there that says more. I just clicked it like 37 times to get to the bottom. It lists all the different events that we've got upcoming in our schedule. And as you can see, obviously, well, tonight it's the show. We're already doing that one, so that'll go into the past events here pretty soon. But this Saturday, if you're from Stillwater, the area, and you want to come have some fun and hang out, I know John usually attends a lot of these. It's the Cars and Coffee. That's going to be this Saturday at 8 a.m. All the information, it's 3091 North Husband. All the information or details are here. But if you're local or close enough to call it locals, Oklahoma City and Tulsa are each about 45 minutes an hour, so I consider those local. That's going to be a great event if you want to come hang out. As you can see, we've got some arena cross racing, freestyle motocross coming up. We just did this past weekend was Lazy E Arena, and that was just down here in Guthrie.
Lauren, yeah.
Guthrie.
Yeah, it is Guthrie.
Yeah, Guthrie, that's right. And that was with Lauren. He obviously was in the studio for a little bit, but there's more of that coming up. And then as always, Base Wars. We are the brand sponsor for Base Wars. We're proud to be that brand for them. And so we sponsor all the Base Wars events that are going on. And so all of their events that are upcoming are linked into the Kicker page. Go find them there. Lone Star Throwdown, that's another event coming up. Master Tech Expo coming up. As you can see, there's a lot of different events here. The 2021 USACI Finals are going to be March 25th through 27th. We've ponied up and sponsored into that one as well. That's going to be happening down in Lawton, Oklahoma. So there's a lot of great events here now that the New Year's kicked off.
Ton of events.
Ton of them. But always hit the Kicker Facebook page, Kick Events. You can find everything available there. And the last but not least, I always give a shout out for this because it touches my heart. I mean, I remember back when I got the original copy of this TechMaster PEB base computer. And Sean and Patrick over there, those guys took and they basically remastered the album. They added some tracks to it. If you're one of the lucky guys like me that got in line first, I actually got a numbered and signed autographed copy of one, which I'll never play it. It's just going to go into a shadow box
Right.
for me. But this is a fantastic CD. You're supporting someone who supports the industry because music like this is what lets you show off these big bass systems and enjoy that. So I highly recommend, if you haven't, go get yourself a copy of the new remastered TechMaster PEB Bass Computer 2021. It's got all the original tracks, plus, and if I remember, it's 9 or 10, and hopefully I got that number right, additional tracks are on board. It's a 2 CD collection. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Please go check it out and pick yourself up a copy. I love promoting these guys because I love what they do, and discs like this are awesome. It's great that someone in today's age decided to go ahead and do that. Of course, once you get the disc, you'll probably do like I do, is you'll take it home, you'll rip it, and I put it on my portable media player and carry it around because cars today don't even have CD players.
Do you have an iPod?
No iPod. They don't make those anymore. But what I do have, well, you ask, it's actually an Onkyo
nice.
DAP-X1, one of those high-res media players.
Yeah.
That's what I use to carry all my music on.
Well, to go along with what you're saying, man, CDs like that is what got most of us in this industry
CDs got
started.
me
I mean, cassettes probably for you.
Well, 8 tracks?
Yeah, my first radio was a cassette
Reel-to-reel
player.
tape?
That's right.
If you want to go back that far, my brother. So that brings me back, Ernie. Oh, I see you got us in a window there. I just created you I love that mirrored effect that happens when you bring up that screen that goes back and back and back. I know Ernie will get that switched over. So that kind of takes care of a lot of stuff there in the beginning that I like to touch on. 2 other things. First one is, guys, if you like what we do on Kicker Unmasked Live, do me a huge favor. You don't have to do it now. Do it on the way out the door. Please like and subscribe if you're watching this on Facebook and or YouTube, whichever one you're doing that with. It's important to us that we know you're enjoying this content. It helps us do a lot of things internally here in the company. And always understand, information you share with us through Unmasked, or if you happen to email it directly to Bill Frog, whether it's a question about a different product, a different size, whatever it might be, we take this information from you guys seriously. So please understand this is a two-way conduit. Like and subscribe. We're doing this for you. And ironically, I can't catch everything, but I did catch something in the Kicker Club feed yesterday, and someone asked about a CX 1800.1. They wanted to see an amp dyno of a CX 1800.1. So what I told them is, great, you want to see that? So maybe we can get it arranged and set up here in the studio that on next Tuesday's show, we'll actually dyno a CX 1801 live here in the studio.
That's pretty cool.
You want to see those things, guys? That's the kind of input we like to get from you. And we scour, the Kicker Club, and we go through the Facebook feed for Kicker and look for that information, because if those are the things you want to see, we are more than happy to find a way to get that on the air for you here on Kicker Unmasked Live. So keep those suggestions coming. This show, it's for you. I don't think it's for us, really, although we enjoy doing it.
Well, yeah, it's fun, right?
I like doing it. It's fun.
Man, that's kind of exciting, man. A dyno with the CX amps. I mean, every time we've done dynos with those, they're very impressive.
They're very impressive. The thing, what we'll probably do is we'll probably do a dyno here in the studio because people like seeing it live here on Unmasked. But then what I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably pack that amplifier up and send it straight over to Big D, Williston Audio Labs, and then let him do an official dyno video on it as well and get it up on his YouTube channel, because Big D is the master at doing amp dynos. He gets some really good in-depth information, a little bit more than even we do here in the studio. So we'll probably end up doing one live here, and then I'll ship it out to Big D and see if he wants to amp dyno test that one. I'm sure he will. The last thing I want to cover in housekeeping this evening is, it's been a few weeks since I've been here, and there have been things that have come and gone since then, but obviously the supply chain, things are tight right now. Sometimes you can't find what you want to find, and so since last Tuesday's show, I've compiled the list of products that have actually come in, been QA'd, QC'd, good to go, and have been shipped out to Kicker dealers. Now understand, this product list I'm going over, you may not find this on kicker.com, which is fine. We always take care of our dealers first. So if we get 300 of something, or 3,000 of something, or 35, whatever it is, if we've got back orders for those products, we ship all that out to our dealers and don't keep any to go on kicker.com. We only put it on our website after all of our dealers are taken care of. So bear that in mind when I give you this list, because you might run to kicker.com and go, oh wait, it's not there. Go find a Kicker dealer. Use the dealer locator at kicker.com. Find your favorite brick and mortar store or your favorite online, and that's where the product's going to be if I'm telling you it's been released. So real quick, I want to run down the list. We got in and have sent out CX 1200 watt monoblock amplifiers, which that's a very popular amplifier. Those are out in the field now. The CX 4 channel, that amplifier is 65 watts by 4 at 4 ohm. It's 90 watts by 4 at 2 ohm. We got some of those in, and those are out in the field.
He's a beast.
It is. It's a great little 4-channel amplifier. 10-inch comp 4 ohm and a single voice coil. We've got some of those woofers in and out. And we also have those in a loaded truck enclosure, a loaded truck style enclosure. And we've got some of those in the same woofer, that 10-inch comp 4 ohm SVC. Those have come in and out. As far as raw drivers, comp RTs and a 10-inch dual 2 ohm. Those are in and out. Comp RT 12-inch dual 4 ohm. Those have come in and gone out. And then we'll lead right into our topic we're going to in a minute, which is loaded enclosures.
Yep.
We got in some TRTP, that's the downfiring with the passive radiator. We got in 10-inch and 12-inch, both of those. Those have come in and gone out the door, so those are out there and available.
Those 12s are really hard to keep in stock.
That 12,
especially at stores, man.
Man, that downfiring 12, I got to tell you, you look at the size of the enclosure, and no, and we'll get more into this later, it's not a baby floater box. It's not designed to do that. But musically, like listening to music, that 12-inch downfiring enclosure impresses more and more every time I hear it. And even more so is Tim over in his truck, camera guy Tim, he's got 2 of the dual 10, the 10 with the passive behind the seat of his, is that an S10, Tim?
No, it's full size. 94.
Full size. And the first time I heard that, I was blown away with how good those sound for loaded enclosures. And so from a musical standpoint, you just can't beat those enclosures.
I'm thinking of putting one of those under the back seat in the minivan. Wife's going to be super happy.
And you need the minivan.
Actually, yeah, I'm the one
you
driving.
need the minivan.
Soccer games, man.
There you go, soccer. I mean,
soccer dad.
You're up to what, 8 kids now, 9?
Well, 2 that I know right now.
2, well,
legally, no. I just have 2 kids.
It's Carlos is the family man. And then last but not least, we did get in some CS Series 3.5s. That's a 2-way coaxial, and we got some CS Series 3-way coaxial 6x9s. So those have come in and gone out. The CS line of coax products are very popular. We sell a lot of those. And last but not least, if you got a patio, it's a place to go have a drink and enjoy friends and family. We finally got in some more KB6s, which is the little patio style speaker. It's got a 6.5-inch woofer, a 2x5 horn-loaded tweeter. We sell a ton of these drivers. They come and go a lot. We do them in a black and a gray. We just got a shipment of them in black back in stock. They're not that expensive. They're like 129 or 149 retail a pair.
It's nothing for what you're getting the performance on it. You know, I've seen them in bars too.
Oh, yeah. Well, ironically, if you go to most any restaurant around Stillwater here, if they've got outdoor speakers to play audio, it's usually a KB, 600, 6,000. There's been, we change the model number every couple of years because we change the speaker
Or
up
the
a little
pools
bit.
in the apartments.
Pools in apartments. And that's a great little speaker. Designed for outdoors, you can use them. I mean, my own brother uses them in his garage and out at his deck for his pond, where, because in Ohio, ponds are pools. So, pool, pond's good for you, good for me. And, those are a great little speakers, so I highly recommend if you're looking for something like that, check out the KB6. We just got some more in black, and they're out the door. So that wraps up my first attempt in 4 weeks at housekeeping. So hopefully I got it all right.
Quick, man. I'm just happy you did the housekeeping. You didn't make me do housekeeping.
I'm gonna quench my throat with a little bit. This is actually hot tea tonight, folks. Believe it or not, there's no twisted tea here.
You got me thirsty, just doing all that.
And actually, that hot tea, it really helps keep my voice going and keep my throat happy. So you might see me reaching for that cup quite a bit tonight, so I apologize for that. So with all that said, Carlos, let's get into, because what I want to do is I want to be able to hand off to you so I can look at some comments. Maybe
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But I know in last week's show, we really talked about and got focused on different box designs.
Right.
And I was well enough that last Tuesday I actually hung around in the feed and I saw kind of what you guys were doing. But you touched on...
Your brother was on too.
Yeah, he was too, yeah, which blew my mind, Kevin, which he's sick now, so now he's...
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's got moonshine though, he's fine.
Oh, that kills anything.
Yeah, it's an antiseptic for the
Including
entire
livers.
body. Yeah. But you guys really touched on what I consider probably the key boxes that anyone's going to design in a car today, and that's going to be, it's not really a box, but free air.
Right.
Which is a style of enclosure to use in a car.
But you got to do that right too, man. I mean, I don't know if I told you the story is like the right way and the wrong way. Like back when I was in high school, my friend had a 1990 Suzuki Swift. Anyone remember that car? It's like a Geo Storm, right?
I do, I remember.
Hatchback. And what my friend did actually is on the rear deck, he cut out a hole for the subwoofer. Man, that car, you can hear down the street, a block or two down. We're like, how'd you make that sound so good in that little car? Well, we saw that he sealed it completely, right? And it sounded great. But then you got guys, I remember one of the first cars that I worked on was a Trans Am, this kid who, he actually, remember the older F-bodies where you had the T-tops, where you hold the T-tops?
Sure, yeah, I know that, yeah.
So he did like a pizza box. He took like one of those pizza boards, and he put it right there in the T-tops, right? Cut holes for subwoofers, and he's wondering why he's blowing up woofers, right? Well, dude, you're not really sealing it, right? You put a ton of power to it, put a 1,000-watt amplifier, ton of power to it, blowing up the woofer, right? So we ended up redoing it for him. We sealed it around whenever the trunk was closed. It was completely sealed, and the subwoofer played, or those subwoofers played forever. So there's a right way and a wrong way with free air subwoofer, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and if you're not doing it right, man, things can go wrong.
You know, I want to tie into your story since bringing that. Free air, back when car audio was really kind of getting its legs in the early 80s, and I admit I was installing back then, is free air was really how most things were done. And if you were a roller if you had like not one pair of 6x9s in the rear deck, but two pair of 6x9s in the rear
some
deck.
bi-9s.
Oh yeah, or even three pair. I mean, I'm saying this because I've done this, or I've cut into the back of a Nova or a Camaro or whatever, and done 2 or 3 pairs of 6x9s, and then graduated into doing a board against the back seat and doing a pair of 12s, a pair of 15s, a pair of 10s on free air, and I got to tell you, you got to know, and this leads into the different box designs. You got to know what your goals are and what you're shooting for, because I'll be honest. From a sound qualitative standpoint, I think some of the best systems I have personally ever heard are free air.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Even on boats, they're using them on boats.
Yes. Free air, and you have to understand, I'm saying sound qualitative. I'm not talking about floating bricks and babies. I'm talking about qualitatives, because when you go into a free air application, your power handling gets cut in at least half. You're going to reach mechanical excursion quicker, which means you could bottom out the driver sooner. You got to know what you're doing with the volume knob and your EQ. I mean, it's all that, but from a qualitative standpoint, man, free air systems sound great.
Yeah, you know what's crazy too is, because we're in training, we get to travel a lot. Guys up in Northern California that I was doing trainings with, I noticed a lot of shops they're selling more free air applications. A lot of guys are buying those old Grand Nationals, Monte Carlos,
Right.
those old G bodies, F bodies.
Sure.
And they want to go with free air enclosures, right? They just want to put it somewhere that's nice. I mean, it looks great too. I mean, that's probably one of the downfalls too, is you could actually see the subwoofer as well.
You
but
see the
I mean,
back of it or the front, depending on how you mounted it.
But it's pretty cool. It sounds great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. If you do it right, there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. So we're going to include free air in the conversation. Now here at Kicker, we make a 10 and a 12 in the marine line that is designed specifically for free air application. And if you wanted to say, okay, I want to use whatever driver you guys make for free air, buy the Marine 10F or 12F, because the
Yes.
F is for free air, and use that in the car. Perfectly fine. You can also use the whole host of other Kicker subwoofers will work in free air. Just understand when you take any speaker from any manufacturer and you throw it into free air, just look at the power handling and just immediately cut it in half, because it's not going to take that much power to get that woofer to move its full range of travel. So just bear that in mind. If you're going to do free air, you got to seal the front from the back. That's what's critical in free air. Those have to be isolated, so that back wave, like John talked about and tried to show on the iPad. I watched that. You want to keep that back wave isolated enough so that it doesn't come around and join with the front wave and cancel out the bass, which is what it'll do. So free air is, I mean, anybody installing 6x9s or 6.5s or 6x8s in their car today, in the doors, rear decks, front doors, those are all free air applications for that size driver anyway. You're free air. So free air is one. The next one is sealed.
Sealed, right.
And I don't know about you, I mean, I want you to tie in this, but sealed is probably if you've never built a box before and you want to build a box, you want to build a sealed box. You're going to want to call whatever manufacturer. If it's us, call Kicker, get our recommendations on that. It's in the owner's manual, but if you want a little hand holding.
Or the Kicker U app?
Yeah, or Kicker U app. That's another great suggestion. But find out what the box volume is. And I'm here to tell you, on a sealed box application, you can be off by about 20% either way, and it's still going to sound good and perform well. So if you were told, hey, I need 1.65 cubic feet, and you are within 20% of that, it's still going to sound and work extremely well. So sealed boxes are very forgiving as long as you're within plus and minus 20% of that recommended number. So that's the easy. If you're a first timer, I want to build a box, because if you get a sealed box a little too big or a little too small, it's forgiving and it's still going to sound good. Now let's move to a ported box. If you get a ported box a little too big, a little too small, or you don't get the port tuned just right, you can significantly alter the performance of that woofer. And I've heard systems, everyone talks about low bass. What's funny is back in the 80s, everyone was, oh, about that low bass. Well, what's your ideal low bass? Oh, now I want to get down to 25 hertz. Well, what kind of music you listen to? I listen to this, this, and this. And so in my mind, I'm listening and I'm going, yeah, your ideal low bass is about 38 to 45 hertz. That's low bass. What you see and what you hear sometimes can get a little more confused, but you can actually tune a ported box too low to the point where it unloads, it doesn't have any hit, it doesn't have any dynamics. So if you get a ported box wrong on size and tuning, because both of those work together, you can really mess it up. So I would never recommend for a first timer building a box to build a ported box. I just really wouldn't. I'd say cut your teeth on a sealed box. That way you can actually learn the formulas, learn how to measure, learn how to calculate air volume, understand what net and gross is. You got to account for the amount of volume the woofer itself is, which is, am I talking net box volume or am I talking gross box volume? I would cut my teeth on a sealed box, knowing they're going to sound good, they're going to work good, and if you're off a little bit, it's not that big a deal. But if you're looking for a little extra bump, a little extra output, you want to get that extra at that, typically in that low 30 hertz range is where most boxes are tuned. Ported is the way to go. And don't let people, how many times have you, I know you have, that ported boxes can't sound tight, they sound sloppy, they don't sound good, and you just have to sit there and go, don't know what you're doing.
So I'll tell you the story about it, because for the longest time, I was using sealed enclosures because the first enclosure that I bought was a bandpass enclosure.
Okay.
Because they look cool, right? And everyone's like, man, it's loud, it's loud. Okay, did a bandpass box. Wasn't too thrilled with it. I mean, I was just starting in the audio business, right? Or in the audio game, because I was just installing on my own car. And then I went to a ported box. It was like, oh, you didn't like that? Ported box is gonna be louder, it's gonna hit hard, it's gonna slap. That's the phrase, right? Slap. So, all right, I went with the ported box, and the type of music I was listening to, maybe it was the box, maybe it was the woofer, maybe it was the way it was put together. I just wasn't impressed with it. So I did a sealed, which I'm like, I could have done this in shop class, man. guess what? It sounded great for the longest time. That's what I used. And I had a 1996 Mitsubishi Eclipse, and we completely redid that whole car. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna put two 12s in the back. And it was a great idea. And then that's when KICKER came out. Remember that silver L7 that came with the stand for display?
I do.
And the ported stand?
I do.
And I was like, man, I sell a ton of these. I'm just gonna take that enclosure and pop it in. And I was unhappy with the ported enclosures the first time I heard it. Once I heard that, I was sold on ported enclosures. Nothing bad with the sealed enclosures, but I liked the way that ported sounded, but it was made right.
So I can guarantee what you experience is what I'm talking about is if you don't get the tuning right on a ported box, you'll get a lot of woofer motion. There'll be a lot of things going on, but you don't really hear or feel like there's any bass or impact.
Right.
It's critical on the tuning. The thing you have to understand about a ported box is at the tuning frequency, the port does all the work. The port is what's moving all the air. The woofer's barely moving. And then when you get above that tuning frequency, a ported box actually performs like a sealed box. That's when it starts performing more like a sealed enclosure. The port's really not adding anything, it's not subtracting. The woofer feels like it's in a sealed enclosure. But then when you get half an octave below your tuning, so to make this easy, I'm going to use a higher number. So let's say your box was tuned at 40 hertz. Okay, an octave simply means halving or doubling of frequencies. So a full octave below 40 is 20 hertz. So half an octave would be 10. So if I go from 40 down to 30, what that means is if I've got a box tuned at 40, at 30 hertz, once I get to playing a 30 hertz tone or lower, the woofer is called unloading. It doesn't even see the box anymore. It doesn't see the port. It doesn't see the air pressure provided by the box. The speaker is literally playing as if you were just holding it out here outside of the box with nothing there. So tuning an enclosure ported is very critical. You want to tune this so that you get a good snap, a good hit. Maybe you listen to music that doesn't go quite as low, so maybe you want to tune in that 36 to 40 hertz range, which is a realistic tuning range. Or if you listen to a little more music that has a little bit of that lower content, you probably are a person that's going to want to tune into that 30 to 33 hertz range. 31, 32 seems to be a magical number that works well for just about any of that style of music. Tuning below 30 hertz, some guys, I want to get that real low stuff. You start tuning below 30 and getting down to there, what can happen is, yeah, the woofer will move a lot of air down at those lower frequencies, but it has no impact or life. The woofer can actually sound blah. So tuning a ported box, that's what I think you experienced. You experienced a bad tuned box versus a good tuned box.
Exactly. It was just an over-the-counter box. Nothing wrong with some of these over-the-counter boxes. You just got to make sure that they're going to work for your subwoofer. They meet the specs, right?
Exactly.
You got to make sure you tune that subsonic filter as well, because I'm sure some of you guys have run into situations where, you know, there's guys that want to just turn everything to 3/4 and subsonic filter 3/4. Sometimes you got to have that subsonic filter.
If you're doing a ported enclosure, you better be using a subsonic filter, or you're wasting your amplifier power and you're dancing out there on the edge with possibly damaging your speaker. You want a subsonic. The whole industry, we all call them subsonic filters. The truth is they're called infrasonic filters. That's technically what they are. But as an industry, we just all call them subsonic filters, although it's wrong. But that's what we call them. Everybody does. Real quick, before we move to the next enclosures, I want to answer this. So we got a question here from Corey Perry. Where the Solo X? Well, besides the cutaway that's sitting over here to my left, and there's a couple over here on the floor, the Solo X is coming, man. That's what I can tell you. Corey, if you haven't seen on some of the previous shows, we've actually motored a 10, an L7X10. We've motored an L7X15 here on the show just to show you guys. It's not to tease you. Well, maybe a little. I mean, I just love showing the stuff off, but it's really not to tease you. It's to show you where we're at in the development of this. What's happened the last 2 years, so the supply chain, development, the pipeline, the entire reaction to COVID and everything, guys, it's just slowed everything down. It's like trying to walk from here to my car, but I'm doing it through 8 feet of snow. I mean, I can get there, but it's going to take me a while. Everything is slowed down for production. So what we have said is currently, and understand, we are giving you the most up-to-date information we have, and it could change. It could move forward, it could move backwards. But right now we're looking at L7X and a 10, 12, and 15, and both a dual 1 ohm coil version and a dual 2 ohm coil version. We're hoping to have those second quarter of this year. That's what we're targeting. The driver's real. We are trying to get to market as fast as we can. I'm excited to have, I want because I want the 15s in my home theater. So I'm hoping, I really do. I want 4 15s and ported cabinets in my home theater. That's what I want. And I got plenty of power. It ain't gonna be a problem. I got
when
the juice.
I grow up.
You can just bring something to drink and you can come. I'll cook some on the grill. We'll watch a movie.
Nice.
It's going to be fun. So, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that question. I'm glad you did. So that driver, it's coming. We're looking second quarter. Keep that in mind. And then one other question I saw here real quick I want to take. Well,
let's let Corey know. Go find your local dealer and place your order now. That way you're on the list, man.
That's, people, I don't want to speak for what KICKER may or may not do because I don't know, because we keep getting asked, well, are you guys going to do a special order, or can I get a pre-order? Can I do? We as KICKER haven't decided how we're going to handle that, if we are at all. We know there's a lot of enthusiasm for that, but if you go to a KICKER dealer, because they're going to be the first ones to get the drivers anyway. When we have them, they're going to ship to KICKER dealers. Go find your favorite KICKER dealer and have that conversation with him and go, hey, I'd like to get in line for this. First off, it'll give that dealer an idea of how many drivers he needs to pre-order when they're available, and then he can have the size and the impedance you want actually come into his store. So go to a KICKER dealer and have that conversation. They all know that's coming. They know the delays and everything, the realities of it. But as far as that goes, right now, I'm going to tell you, go talk to a KICKER dealer. Find whichever one you're comfortable with and go do that conversation.
Last thing you want, Corey, is, hey, they're here, but not for you.
Yeah, this
is not for you.
One of our favorite ones. And then Tone or Tony, hopefully I get that right, Sepulveda. Which is better, key lock, or the LC2i? Well, Tone or Tony, hopefully I got that right, either one. I don't want to say that one is better than the other. They're both fantastic devices for taking a signal from an OE, meaning factory radio system, and getting you a signal that you can then input into any aftermarket amplifier. What I will say is what the LC2i does versus what the key lock does, and here's the difference. The LC2i just simply takes the signal up to 40 volts, comes in, lets you turn it down into a usable preamp signal and send it onto an amplifier. Great device, nothing wrong with it, fantastic product from a fantastic company. The key lock, on the other hand, does that exact same thing, but it has a routine built into it with our software and DSP and test tones, where the key lock will go through and re-EQ itself and remove all of those funky peaks and curves that come along for the ride from the factory EQ. It'll restore all that low bass that's been rolled off from the factory system, and it's the only device in the world that will automatically detect and remove up to 3 all-pass filters that might exist in a factory system, and it will do time alignment. So you're asking me to compare.
In a small package.
Yeah, I mean, in something, the size of a cell phone, basically, as far as a footprint. So when you ask me to compare those two, I'm just going to be honest. The core function that both those do is they take up to a 40-volt signal from an OE radio and let you convert it into a good preamp signal to get into your amplifiers. The difference starts there, is that the key lock does all those other things in addition. So hopefully that answered your question. I don't want to say one's better than the other as far as what you're going to get done. If you don't need the equalization, if you don't need the filter removal, and if you don't need the time alignment correction, you're going to be perfectly fine.
Key lock doesn't do time alignment. Key 204 does time alignment.
Oh,
no, it defeats time alignment.
Defeats time alignment. Defeats time alignment.
So really the answer is whichever one you get hands on. Get a hold of, because everything's really hard to get a hold of right now.
They're all hard to get a hold of, but if you need to re-EQ your signal, or want to, if you want to get all that low bass back that the factory system has rolled off, if you want to eliminate that time delay or take care of the all-pass filtering, the key lock's going to get that done. So those were just 2 great questions that came up in the feed, so I wanted to throw those out there before we keep moving on down the highway. And Bill, I love this new system. Bill's just throwing question after question in there. I can just look at that. That's awesome. So that brings us to our last, so really we got free air application,
sealed enclosures,
ported enclosures, and last but not least, bandpass.
Bandpass.
Now, I know a lot of you out there are going to call a bandpass a 4th order. I've heard this terminology referenced to a lot, and I bite a groove in my tongue not saying anything. But guys, when you refer to an order, you're referring to the roll-off. How quickly does the subwoofer roll off? A sealed cabinet rolls off at 12 dB per octave. It's a 2nd order cabinet design. A ported box is a 4th order. It rolls off at 24 dB per octave below tuning. So when you say 4th order to someone who really is talking the correct terminology, 4th order means ported box. When you you need to call them what they are. It's either a single reflex bandpass or a dual reflex bandpass. And a single reflex bandpass has a sealed side, the woofer is playing into that plays into a ported side. That's a single reflex bandpass.
So single woofer, dual chamber.
Dual chambers. One side is sealed, one side is ported, and that is called a single reflex bandpass. And the roll-off characteristic of that box needs to be measured to be determined. It could be 4th order. Once you throw in your electronic crossovers, it could be 6th order, 7th order. I mean, the conversation about orders is just every order is another 6 dB. So how many times are you rolling off at 6 dB? So we prefer to call a bandpass by what it really is, which is a single reflex bandpass, which is half sealed, half ported, or a dual reflex bandpass, and that's where both sides are ported. The woofer is basically the back of the woofer is into a ported box, and the front of the woofer is playing into a ported box, and that's called a dual reflex bandpass. So we're not trying to squash anyone or step on people's toes, but 4th order is not the proper definition for a bandpass box. Single reflex, dual reflex, for as far as how they're built and designed, that is the proper way to refer to one. And why would you do a bandpass?
Well, if you want to limit or you just want to get maximum punch out of certain frequencies, right? Because you're just passing those bands, right? And that's how you can build that box. You can make it even peakier, right? But that's where it becomes even more trickier, right? It's not the easiest box to build. It's not the easiest box to tune. It is pretty cool. I mean, Latin America, I don't know why. Why do you think they send me to Latin America to do trainings? I don't understand. If you guys know, please let me know. But
because muy poquito español. That's why.
But in Latin America, they're calling them turbo boxes, and they do exactly what they're trying to do, and they're using them a lot in SPL vehicles. A lot of these vehicles, just because they're loud, doesn't mean it's always going to sound great. But they have their limitations. They have their cons as well. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a bigger enclosure.
Sure.
The biggest downfall, I think, is that you don't get to hear any distortion. If you got any clipping or any distortion, it's kind of muffled because it's hidden inside, another chamber, right? So
100%.
Then, here's the pain in the rear end is you blew that subwoofer while you're trying to do, you're trying to burp a boxes, or some guys are calling them burp boxes, right? So you blew that subwoofer. Now you got to take that whole subwoofer apart, or that whole enclosure apart, just to get that subwoofer out. What a pain, man.
It is, and especially depending on how you've originally built it. If you build a bandpass box, this is what I will tell you from years of experience. As you're building or designing your bandpass box, always design it so that you've got some way to easily remove a panel and get back to your subwoofer. If you don't, from the start, design that in, you're going to have regrets pretty darn quick. And to tie into what Carlos said, we all talk about electronic crossovers, and whether it's a subsonic filter, which is a high pass filter to prevent lower frequencies from getting to your speaker system, or a low pass filter, which prevents the higher frequencies. So electronic crossovers allow you to create a pass band. If you take a subsonic and your low pass, you're creating a pass band of these are the frequencies I want to play, and I'm electronically limiting them from going into my amplifier. Bandpass boxes do the exact same thing, but they do it through a mechanical pass filter. And that's what the sealed side in combination with the ported side or the dual ported sides do, is when you get to do all the tuning and what you're doing, you're actually mechanically designing that enclosure to accentuate the pass band of frequencies and roll off the top and bottom of those. And I'll agree with Carlos on that 100%. It's very easy to blow a subwoofer in a bandpass box because you typically can't hear the higher frequency distortion that you get when you're running your amplifier into clipping or you're running the subwoofer hard, because the mechanical filter of the bandpass box just kind of rolls it off and eliminates it. So I agree with you on that 100%.
But they're cool. They're cool boxes.
They are. I mean, I'll tell you, the thing I'll say, and I know Carlos will have an opinion on this, is guys, there's no perfect system or design when it comes to a subwoofer enclosure. You got to figure out what's going to work and fit into the application that you're dealing with at that moment. A prime example, did tons of sealed boxes, tons of ported boxes back in my day after we went through the infinite baffle free air mounting stages in the early days. And had one car where I just did the car, we did a ported box, and it just didn't sound good. No matter what I did in this car, I could not get this subwoofer to sound good at the driver's seat. So what I ended up doing is I built a bandpass box, I ported it through the rear deck, and the thing about a bandpass box is all your output comes through the port. There's no woofer it's all forced through the port. So all this energy is being forced through the port and was forced into the car through the rear deck. It worked really well in that application. It doesn't mean that I'd have to do that in every sedan application, but in this particular one, I couldn't get the performance I was looking for, so I ended up going with a bandpass box. the trap I don't want anyone to fall into is don't think that one box is the magic box.
Absolutely. You got to experiment, play with them, because everyone's got different tastes in music. Different music is recorded differently as well. So mess around with it, experiment. Like I told you guys, I started with the bandpass box. I was not happy. Went to a bad ported box. Not happy. Went to sealed, tickled pink, and then dropped in the right ported box and
Even happier.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to remind everyone, it is 8:15 Central Time. You've got 15 minutes left to enter the nightly contest. It's real easy. It's kicker.com/UM Weekly. So if you need to open up a separate box on whatever your device you're using, your computer, your iPad, your phone, be sure you enter that contest before 8:30. We shut it down at 8:30, and we always announce the winners for the nightly Tuesday contest at or right before 9 o'clock. That's our goal. Like I've been accused of, the show's 90 minutes. They've got an over-under tonight. I'm going to try to be the winner.
I got to put my kid to sleep.
I
man.
know.
I left him home alone.
This kind of ties in. I think we're skipping ahead a little bit here, but I saw this in the main feed, so I want to bring this question up. And Saprola, hopefully I say that right. Again, if I ever butcher a name, guys, I apologize. Are the downfiring boxes considered ported? What's the roll-off? Great question, Saprola. A passive radiator, which KICKER is kind of famous. KICKER didn't invent the passive radiator, but KICKER made the passive radiator cool.
Yes.
The original KICKER boxes and the performance that Steve got out of those boxes with small drivers and then using passive radiators was phenomenal in the day. And what's ironic is they kind of run their course. Bandpass boxes, ported boxes, sealed boxes kind of took over, and the old passive radiator kind of fell away. And what's happened is it's kind of come full circle, and now KICKER has a full line of enclosures where we've gone back to using a passive radiator. And I don't know if Tim can even get a shot of them back here. Maybe we need to grab one and bring it up.
Let me pull it.
You know, we've got a behind-the-seat box, which uses passive radiators. We do those in an 8, 10, and a 12 with a passive. And then we do the downfiring, which is the same. It's available in an 8, 10, and a 12 with a downfiring. And here, I'm going to cheat. Let me put it up here so it's got a better, Tim can get a better shot of it there. And if you can look at these boxes, like you're getting this is the 8? Yeah, this is the 8. So you're looking, this is 2 8s. This is an 8-inch Comp RT driver with an 8-inch passive radiator. And so you know the drivers are 8 inches. So looking at the overall width of this cabinet, this is a very, very narrow in the width cabinet. And then if I give you a shot from the front, it's not very tall. It's very, very narrow. And I'll just flip it here and give you a shot from the side so you can see the legs are built in and the cutout and everything. So this box is very small. There's not a lot of air volume in this box. But what this box is capable of doing, because of the passive radiator, because of the passive radiator tunes this small enclosure down to a realistic low. And is the tuning on the 8, this one I think is tuned at 36 or 38.
I want to say they're about like 38.
On the 8, I know it's a little higher. It's like 36 hertz or 38 hertz is the tuning on this one. What the passive radiator is allowing us to do is to tune this very small enclosure down at a very good frequency to sound great with music in a vehicle. And you don't have, because to get that kind of tuning in a port where you don't have port noise, so you get the right size port that you need, and then the length. Small box, if you want to tune a small box low, ports get long, especially if they're big. So we realistically can't tune this box where we want with a port. It just doesn't work. So what we do is we use a passive radiator. And the passive radiator, this box has the same roll-off characteristic of a ported box. It performs similarly to a ported box, except what you've got is, instead of a column of fixed air in a tube, a port that's moving back and forth to give you more output, you have this drone or passive radiator speaker that's powered off the back wave of the speaker. Now, I've had some guys online ask the question, well, can I pull out the passive radiator and put in another 8 and get more performance? No. As a matter of fact, if you pull that passive radiator out and put in another active speaker, it's going to sound worse. And people go, well, how's it going to sound worse? Well, because what you just did is you're now putting 2 speakers, and each one is in half the airspace it had to begin with and has none of the benefit of the passive radiator, because now it's just back to a sealed box. So this is a pre-constructed, ready-to-go solution that's going to give you great performance, way more performance than its size. Now, be realistic. No, this isn't going to float bricks and babies. This is not what this is designed for. But this is something that you can put in very compact places in a vehicle. It goes right in, and it gives you great bass for music. And with that said, I just want to hand it back to you because I know you got more to add or go from there.
I'm going to take this down because it covers me because I'm not that tall.
So Prola, hopefully that helps answer that question on you, is that passive radiator boxes work like
A ported enclosure.
box.
So
Except
basically,
we're not doing an air column, we're actually doing a weighted passive drone.
So if you want the performance of a ported enclosure without having to sacrifice the room of a ported enclosure or the pitfalls of port noise, there's your answer, right? So this is the same enclosure that we saw there. There's another downfiring enclosure.
Go ahead. I know that's Justin because, hey, Justin, I hope you're doing well too, man. I know you're dealing with the vid too, just like a lot of us. Justin says, do a pan pass box because you want to do a bunch of extra work to get a box that sounds like crap.
Hey, that's good. Well, so
I gotta give Justin that one. Sorry.
the Lysol.
Oh, folks, it's live. Sorry, and I'm back. You never know.
Actually, that smells pretty good, man.
And, in SJC, I want to bring this up because he said 2 different tuning frequencies for dual flex. Like, yeah, I mean, what you're doing at that point is you're basically tuning it. It's 2 sealed cavities that now you're tuning them both, and you're creating your pass band that you want. And the bandpass box design, if you're going to do bandpass boxes and you've never done one, get a computer program or call a company who has the software designed for you, like we do, or whoever you want to deal with. Have them design the bandpass for you. Man, bandpass boxes, you don't get it right, they're horrible. They're absolutely horrible. You get them right, you get them in the pass band that's aligned with your musical style, bandpass boxes can work really well. But I got to give it, SJC, yes, you're correct on that. And then Justin, do a bandpass because, hey, who doesn't want to do a whole lot of extra work for something that sounds bad?
I was going to say, if you're going to do a bandpass for the first time, probably buy extra sheets of wood too.
Oh, yeah,
you're probably going to have to redo something. But Kip, something.
And at today's prices.
Oh, yeah. Man. And if you can find it too.
Exactly.
Well, Kip, this is something that
go ahead.
Talking about these downfiring enclosures, I'm guilty of doing this and forgetting that we have a downfiring enclosure that doesn't have a passive radiator. It is a sealed box. So this is the comp box. I don't know if you ever think about it.
Pardon me.
Because I always try to sell, or when someone's trying to ask me for a system design, I always put the passive radiator boxes, but I always forget about this box. And this box performs very, very well.
Is that the T?
No.
Oh, okay.
yeah, it is the T.
No, that's the
CVT.
I'm thinking L7T. Sorry.
Oh, CVT.
CVT. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, these boxes perform very, very well. Not only this one, but the comp enclosure as well. I mean, I just had somebody call me last week trying to do one of those, and they were worried about what kind of amplifier am I going to put on this because it's a 4-ohm subwoofer. Not a problem, man. We have plenty of solutions for it. Add 2 of those to your amplifier, and you're good to go, man.
And to keep going, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to bring up this comment from Douglas Hall. Douglas, thank you for tuning in the show, man. We appreciate you being here. He says, want to say love you guys. I got 2 10-inch comps in the prefab enclosure that you guys make. Takes 500 to 600 watts all day, wired to 2 ohms on an IQ 502. Never underestimate Kicker. I know you and I had the conversation about what we want to talk about here on the show, and I know there's some other things you want to get to, but I'm going to lead you here a little bit. Guys, there are times, understand when we make a pre-loaded or a prefab enclosure from Kicker, and we make a ton of them, we sell a lot of preloaded enclosures, it's a balancing act between how big of a box can we make so that it fits in most people's car, because if it doesn't fit in your car, I don't think it does us much good. So how big can we go and fit it in a car? How big can we go and it's still shippable, whether it goes out via FedEx or UPS or freight, which is weight, length, dimension, and things like that. And then the performance level, and understand at Kicker, L7X, which is here to my left, I always like pointing to my little friend here, that's going to be a different speaker. I mean, if you want to float babies and bricks, this is going to be your boy right here. You can float babies and bricks all day long with L7X. But a Comp R, Comp RT, CVX, Comp Q, none of those drivers were ever designed to be that kind of speaker. They were designed to reproduce music accurately and do it well in realistically sized enclosures for a person in the average car. That's what they're designed for. So you have to be realistic about what you're looking at. So when we design a preloaded enclosure, we measure them, we listen to them, we change the measurements, and we try to hit all those magical things so it's something that we can build, we can ship, fits your car, and sounds good. And by sounds good, we mean play music. We don't mean float bricks and babies. And so what's interesting is out in the world of social media, you know, you might get one guy that buys a preloaded enclosure from any brand, whoever it is, and goes, oh, preloaded enclosures, they just suck. If you want to get the best performance possible, you got to build your own box. Well, that person is probably wanting to build a very big box that isn't shippable by UPS or FedEx, and then when you get that box, is your buddy or yourself and a saw. He wants to have a lot of airspace, he wants to do a real low tuning, and he wants to move a lot more air in that 25 to 35 hertz range. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the average person who wants to just get better sound in their car, they don't want 6.5 cubic foot of box for a single subwoofer tuned at 31 hertz. They love what a downfiring comp RT can do. They love what a TWTRP or the behind the seat CWRT can do for music. So when it comes to us making preload enclosures, we want to give you the most performance possible in the package that we can make hit all those check marks that I just talked about. And so when it comes to preloads, we make a lot of them and they all sound fantastic. But at the end of the day, if your specific goal is to move a lot more air at lower frequencies, are you going to get more performance out of that same speaker in a different box?
Absolutely.
That's why I wanted him to answer that. So understand that, you know, preloaded enclosures, we're trying to appeal to people who want something that ships, fits, sounds great, and is musical. If you're wanting to float bricks and babies, as I like to say all the time, could you build a different box and get a different performance curve? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean the preloaded or pre-made box is bad in any shape of the imagination.
Man, I've seen $50 subwoofers from Radio Shack sound amazing in a small enclosure, or in the right enclosure, I would say.
Yes.
So yeah, the enclosure is number one most important thing, and you can make any subwoofer sound even better.
Do cardio, car audio, do passive radiators help at the infrasonic level? Passive radiators work just like a port, and once you get below the tuning frequency of the passive radiator, the woofer starts unloading just like it unloads in the ported boxes. So it really doesn't help you. A passive radiator gives you similar performance characteristics to a ported box. The benefit to a passive radiator is if you design up this box and it's small and you want to tune it at, you know, 31, 32, 33 hertz, so you've got some realistic full bandwidth bass response, if that's your goal, you might do the calculation, and you got to watch the airspeed of the port. If the airspeed gets too fast, more than 15 to 17 meters per second is kind of what we deal with as a realistic number, you'll hear chuffing and wind noise, which takes away from your woofer sounding good. So you might go, oh yeah, man, I can do this. I can use a 2.5 inch port and it's only this long. And then you look at the speed, the air, no, that port isn't going to work. It might be the right tuning, but it's so small, it's not really effective at adding output, and it adds a ton of noise to the system. So when you balance the things out and you finally come up to a realistic port, and it might be a 3-inch port up to a 6-inch port, some of the bigger stuff you might be up to an 8-inch or a 10-inch port, but you get into those big ports, they're long. They're very long, and you can't fit that in the enclosure or even outside of the enclosure in a realistic design. They count for it. You can't. But what a passive radiator does is I fix my box volume. I know this is what I've got to deal with. I can change, what you do is you change the mass and the way the passive radiator is tuned, its resonant frequency. Changing that is like changing the length or the diameter of a port and changing the tuning of the box. So passive radiators are fantastic for small boxes because you can get it in the box. You don't have to deal with an unwieldy port, whether it's inside or outside of the box. And that's why passive radiators are so good for that. But do they help infrasonics? No more or no less than a ported box. So that all depends on, you're still going to want, even on a passive radiator box, you're still going to run a subsonic filter. Know where your tuning is, go a little bit below that and turn on your subsonic filter. So go ahead, Carl. I just wanted to throw that in there because that was a good question for what you were teaming.
I lost my train of thought, man.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
No, but a prefab box is absolutely not the worst thing in the world. Again, got to make sure that it's made for the specs that for the subwoofer that you're using. Make sure that everything's right on there. Most reputable companies that make these enclosures will give you all those specs, and they are true to form. They'll tell you everything that you need to know on there. Going with that, that's what we got these two boxes here. I mean, this is not a bad enclosure that you can get. I mean, it's already pre-made, it's a pre-cut, it's already terminated. Got some carpet on here. What's nice about this box too is this one, if you can see here, Tim, are you able to come up here? You got 3/4 inch MDF, which is what you're gonna want. For our woofers are pushing a lot of air. So you're going to want something that's thick and sturdy. So this box you can probably buy on Amazon, probably order online.
How thick is that wood?
This one's
Yeah.
3/4.
So that is true 3/4.
Yes.
You know, and that's something to keep in mind if you're shopping for a pre-made box. And I know Carlos is going to hit on this. I don't want to steal his thunder, but look at the thickness of the material that's being used, because a lot of those econo boxes will be built out to 5/8, which is probably okay if you're doing like maybe an 8-inch sub that's not a long throw design. But really, 5/8 is kind of a thin material to use in any box. I wouldn't recommend, if I was building a box, I don't want to use 5/8 for anything, but understand there are preloaded or pre-made enclosures out there all day long that are offered in 5/8, and it's to save cost.
Yeah, and there's some even 1/2 inch, which are pretty cool.
That's even more, I mean, 5/8 and then you go to half, it seems crazy, but if you look at 1/2 inch versus 5/8 MDF, it's like, whoa, it's visible.
Now this box is actually, I really like the idea that it comes flat in a box, and it gives you all the instructions. Everything is on here. Tell you where to line it up. You got your holes already pre-drilled. This is kind of weird, but it's pretty cool. You got double-side tape on here, so you don't have to go out and spend money on glue.
I would probably still throw some glue.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, a little bit of Tight Bond 3 and me are going to be friends there.
But you know, okay, let's get a little. I'm getting ahead of myself, but let's measure this wood.
And while he's measuring that, real quick, Spencer TBC Boyd, first off, great talking to you. I know I've seen you in a couple of other feeds and stuff. You know, once we reach bandpass, you are bringing up a lot of interesting things. You know, I call it bandpass and beyond, and T-line, all those things. The way this is going, the way these guys have been talking about enclosures, maybe I'll go with Carlos and we'll just add that on, and we'll make that part of next week's show along with the amp dyno that we'll do, and we can talk a little bit more about even more complex box designs. In car, I don't know that I would go into those complex box designs. Now home, it's kind of a different thing. I mean, I've heard some T-lines and some folded horns in home. I mean, I've seen and experienced a folded horn in a home. Now the enclosure was freaking huge, but when it was playing, I mean, literally the sheetrock is getting pulled off the walls. So there are some radical designs you can go with, but I don't know that once you go beyond a standard bandpass type design, I don't know if a lot of them really make sense in a car. If you're doing a T-line or you're doing something like that or a folded horn, it would work for like a small, and when I say small, like a 6 or a 6.5 or no more than 8, because the enclosures get so big. But great question. I'm glad you put it in the feed. Let us process this, and I really think we need to make this almost like another show to add on to this whole series we're doing on enclosures. So stay tuned and come back to us on that. Go ahead, Carlos.
Well, thank you, Kip. My arm fell asleep now holding this up.
It's my job, man. It's my job.
As you can tell here, it's 1/8 inch wood MDF. But this is going to be, oh, sorry. Jeez, I couldn't even see.
Yeah, that's not 1/8 inch.
Hold on, I can't see. I'm getting on, yeah, 1/2 inch.
So that's a 1/2 inch material?
Yep.
So we found one. There it is.
These are ready to go for you guys. I mean, simple install. Here's, look, it even comes with polyfill. Look at that.
That's
Makes
not polyfill.
Makes the job complete.
Come.
Comes with terminal cups. Check that out, terminal cup over here. But you could tell that this is going to be for a small subwoofer. I probably wouldn't even put our comp woofer in here.
So we're looking at this, and and hopefully I get, if everyone's ever heard of flat packs, that's what this one that Carlos has at his far right is really referred to. It's called a flat pack box, meaning it's been pre-cut, pre-chamfered, pre-assembled so they can just ship it as very compact, less weight, easier to ship, more of them to ship in a container, all like that. You end up putting it together. I have done some flat pack home subwoofer cabinets that were exquisite. I mean, they were 3/4 or even inch, or sometimes even dual 3/4 for the baffles. I've done some flat packs for home. Now, the way the quality that you're going to get out of the enclosure, if the material's good and the cuts are good, then it's up to you. Are you using glue? Are you using some kind of crown or staple to hold? Because once the glue's dry, the screws and nails don't hold the enclosure together, guys. It's the glue. Everything you do is just temporary. You could clamp it all up with clamps if you wanted to and just use glue. You don't even need to use screws and nails if you don't want. I use crown staples because they're quick and easy. They hold the enclosure together, and once the glue's dry, you got a great thing. But the end result of the box, if it's a flat pack, if it's a good flat pack, the end result's going to be how well do you glue it, clamp it, and put it together and let it dry out. This, it's a mediocre flat pack.
It works. Entry-level subwoofers.
Yes.
You're not pushing a lot of air. It works for you, right?
Exactly.
I mean, this really is a telltale to me. I mean, when's the last time you hooked up a subwoofer and used these spades?
I don't. It's been a long time.
Knowing you want a direct, hard connection, right? So you're either soldering,
Yes.
or you're using a subwoofer that's got those push terminals, right? Because
Yes.
you want to have that connection all the time. You ever have any of these spades ever come off when that subwoofer's just pushing out too much air?
Yes.
What a pain
Yes.
to take out a woofer. God forbid you have a Makita and you go through a surround, right? I mean, we've all done
we've
that,
never
right?
done
Anybody
that.
ever do
I've
that?
I've always never put a screw through a surround.
That never happens.
Never, ever. Man, the first speaker I took out of the Makita, it was good. Just want to throw this comment up real quick. Jimmy Pittman, he says, we've had a couple more shows in Bass Wars for Midwest, so that was a comment that he had here. I wanted to throw that out there, especially with our relationship with the Bass Wars guys. So I wanted to give him a shout out for that. And then, you're hating me because I'm pulling all these up. I wanted to throw this one up here real fast.
I don't hate you, man.
The greatest 93. Base fam, do I need the big 3 upgrade if I'm only running about 1,500 to 2,000 watts? I don't know. I haven't seen, because I'm in the starred feed here. I don't know if Hi-Fi Vega is in the feed tonight. If he was, maybe he's answered this a little bit. This one will tell you from my own personal experience. You should always do a big 3-wire upgrade in a car, even if you're not going to do anything else to the car. And here's why. The ground wire from the battery to the chassis, the ground wire from the alternator to the chassis, and the ground wire that could go from the alternator to the motor, car manufacturers do all that on a least common denominator. They're going to put in the smallest wire possible to get the job done. And I can tell you, even going back into the mid 80s to 90s when I would get a new car, the first thing I would always do back then, even though it's a stock alternator and an upgraded battery, I would upgrade the big 3. And what's amazing is after you do that upgrade, it's like my headlights don't dim as much and they run brighter, my door locks work better, my power window motors work better. It's just you're increasing that ground pass so that the current going out can return back to the source, which is the battery/alternator system. So 1,500 to 2,000 watts, would I do a big 3 upgrade? Absolutely. Doing a big 3 upgrade, I think, that doesn't just help your car audio system, it helps your car.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I mean, I've lived it and experienced it, so that's my advice on that. Hopefully that helps you
wire.
out. Big 3 always good, even without a system. T. Corley, 100% correct. That's been my experience, and that's why I say that. Forget the audio system. Like I said, I've experienced better performance from the car from the headlight standpoint, the power windows, things they're crisper, they operate better. Noticeable speed difference in the way the windows roll up. So yeah, I am a big 3 advocate. I think you should always do that to your automobile. Whether you're adding 500 watts, 750 watts, 1,000 watts, 1,500, you said 1,500 to 2,000, definitely in that 1,500 to 2,000 watt category. In my opinion, you did auto qualify to go ahead and do a big 3, but for me, I always want to do a big 3 because I've seen what it can do for the performance of just the car. So back to you. I just wanted to, that was a good question. I mean, there's a lot of these, we get more questions we can answer on.
I love that. This is a perfect idea because what happens the day you decide, you know what, I really want to get a big system in this car now, and then you feel like, oh my God, they're trying to sell me some stuff that I probably don't need. No, you are going to need it, but plan ahead of time. That way it's not a big hit that day you're going to do that system.
Right. So I know what else do you have planned on enclosures? I don't want to cut you off.
Well, we're going to price it out, right?
Okay.
Build an enclosure. Now, guys, again, there is nothing wrong with building your own enclosure if you guys got the time, if you got the material, if you got the tools. So assuming that you have the material and you have the tools, let's just do a little bit of math.
All right, Ernie, if you can, Carlos talked me into this. I actually have a big calculator here on my computer. Would you mind putting this on screen and then throwing us in a window or doing something? However you want to do it. You're my hero.
We're going to use Kip's calculator. You at home, use yours.
Hopefully everyone here can see at home this huge standard scientific calculator brought to you courtesy of Windows. So throw me some numbers. Tell me some numbers and I'll start running them through.
So let's start off with a 3/4 sheet of MDF.
Okay.
Let's say $50.
Okay, so $50 for a 3/4 sheet.
If you can find it. If
you can find it for $50.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. And it's 3/4 MDF.
Okay.
Medium density. Now we're also going to go and we're going to do the wood glue.
Okay.
Type Bond 2 seems to be the most popular
that's
one.
what I like.
$7.
So $7 throwing a bottle of glue.
Yeah. If you guys remember, John's got a friend that loves leaving the bottles inside the enclosures.
That's true.
We're going to need some drywall screws. Drywall screws run you about $7.
Okay.
Some silicone caulk, $5.
$5.
And we're assuming you have the caulk gun, right?
Well, unless you're like me and use the good stuff, the elastomeric, and then you're paying $7 to $9. But that's me.
And you're doing it with your finger?
Yeah. Well, no, the elastomeric. It's why I like elastomeric. If you get good with your caulk gun and you lay down a bead of elastomeric and can do it with your caulk gun, don't touch it, don't tool it, let it go. It looks great when it dries.
Nice.
It's just, but if you get into it and have to touch it,
that stuff sticks on you and it pulls away.
Oh, you're gonna lose a finger.
All right, so we did drywall screws, 2-inch drywall screws. How about some panhead screws? $14
Okay.
for a box of screws there.
Got it.
We did silicone caulk, speaker terminals with binding posts. We want speaker
So
terminals.
some good ones.
Yeah, you don't want stuff that's just like a little spring that's going to come back. So those speaker terminals, let's say cheap side, $10 a piece.
Okay, so 20
Sound
bucks.
decent.
One box.
Yeah, 20
We're doing
bucks.
a one woofer. We're doing. A
That's
woofer?
for one. So we're going to do a
two?
dual box. Yeah.
All right, so let's throw 20 bucks in there.
Speaker wire. How about just a roll of 25 feet?
So 25 feet of 16 gauge wire.
$15.
Okay.
I know a guy.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
My cousin.
Who knows a guy.
How about a pound of polyfill?
Okay. Man, I haven't been
actually-
to Hobby Lobby. How much is that running now?
We're looking at 13 a pound.
Okay, so
should we
13
use
bucks.
2 or just 1?
Well, I'm going to throw 1 pound in there. Usually for me, this is really a loaded question. Depends on the box. I usually do a pound of polyfill per cubic foot if I'm going to polyfill a sealed box. And you want to pull that stuff apart and get it pulled apart and loose. So it depends on this box. If we're building this box for 2 woofers, and let's say it's a cubic foot per woofer, let's throw another bag in there.
All right, let's throw another bag. So it's 26
we'll
total.
do 2 bags, 1 bag for each side of the chamber.
All right, and then we got a port tube kit. So as Kip was talking about, we're able to get a 6-inch port tube kit for $50.
50 simoleons?
Yep, and it comes with, for both sides, comes with tube, or I can't even talk, port for 2 sides. You know what I totally forgot to write in here? Carpet.
You got a carpet?
You got to put, you're going to be like my cousin Tito?
Well, if it's MDF, I'm carpeting it. I
You
don't want to
got
see it. I don't want to look at it.
So-
Which MDF's a great material to build a box out of, don't get me wrong, but it's ugly as sin.
Last time you bought a roll of carpet.
I haven't bought carpet in a while. My answer is yes.
I think last I looked it up, it was $40.
$40 for a roll?
Yeah.
To buy a roll. So
50-foot roll.
All right, so let's 50-foot roll. So we'll throw $40 in for a whole roll of carpet.
So we're looking at $234. This is just the box, all right? This is not including your time, right? About how long would it take you to make something like this, Kip?
I'm going to go back here and I'm going to give Ernie go back from the calculator. Well, this is a loaded question. Anyone out there who's built their, and I know Justin from DIY Audio Guy, he's built some boxes. He has a setup where he does boxes. And a lot of your time in building the box, I'll be honest, depends on what kind of setup do you have. If you have a shop that's already set up, all your tools will set up. You don't have to pull out your table saw and set it up, or a panel saw, whatever tooling you have. If you already have a shop set up and you don't have to pull your tools out, that can save you 30 to 45 minutes in setup time just because you got everything set up. So it depends on, I'm going to assume you've already got a shop set up and you can work on it. A box, if we're doing it ported like that, from start to finish, if I had my plans laid out and I had my cut sheet so I knew exactly what I was doing for all my cuts, for me to go from start to finish and build that box is probably 60 to 90 minutes, not carpeted.
Okay. Shops today, how much they charge? I mean, when I was working retail, shop would charge $60 an hour.
Just for the labor.
Yeah. Let's say it's, back in the early 2000s and we're going to charge $60 an hour in labor instead of $100, which a lot of shops are charging today. So let's say you said an hour and a half, $90. $90 labor to do it. So we were at $234 plus 90. Guess what? We still need subwoofers.
I like Brian Park. Flip over the trash cans and place the 4x8 sheet on top and get to cutting.
Wasn't that a Dynamat demo?
It might have been. I mean, some of the best Dynamat demos started at the trash can. Let's be honest about that. Yeah, I mean, I've been there. I mean, a good Husky trash can makes a great router table in a pinch. I've been there, done that. So yeah, you're right about that. Flip over the trash cans in place. Andy, 60 to 90 minutes. Andy, I'll tell you this. We have a full wood shop in the back that's all set up, and if all I'm going to do is whip up a single enclosure to hold a single 10 or a single 12, we grab the wood, run it through the table. There's already all the materials there. You grab the stapler, throw some glue on, chunk. I mean, you can whip out just a standard box pretty darn quick if you have a shop that's already set up and ready to do it. But if you got smaller table saws or you don't have a true table saw, you're having to use a circular saw and a guide, you start throwing all that stuff in the mix, yeah, it's going to take hours. I've been there, done that.
He makes a good point over there. He says you have to keep in mind all the stops that you got to run to Taco Bell.
That's true, too.
Be careful. That's how Kip got sick.
Yeah. I can't blame Taco Bell for that.
Hey, man, you ran for that border.
I did run for that border. That's true. That is very true.
All right, so back to the math. We're at 234 just building a box, that was without the labor, right? Or with
the labor.
Without? Okay, so 234, add the $90 labor, we're at 314. Now we got the subwoofers.
And Larry, there was a couple other comments on these guys, and I agree with you. And it's why you see it a lot of times we use in our own designs, in our pre-made enclosures, is slot vents or slot ports, because basically you end up using one side of that enclosure as one side of your port, and then you just kick off your other piece of wood. As long as you calculate it into your net volume that you need to have, slot ports are great because basically it's just another sheet of wood or two, depending on if you're doing an angle, just pieces to actually incorporate your slot port into your design. So we obviously agree with you on slot ports.
Hey, 25 to life, it's Kip's choice, black or gray carpet, he says.
Ooh, black or gray. I don't know, a little salt and pepper gray. Black when it comes to electronics, I almost feel like Henry Ford. Man, you can have any color you want, as long as it's black.
He touches his beard, he says, I want salt and pepper.
Well, that's what it's turned into. This used to be black, now it's salt and pepper, so I got to deal with that. But, there are I'll say the black or the salt and pepper gray carpet really depends on the car. I've used both because some, depends on what the trunk liner material that's in the car is. Some match or blend with the other, so I'm not going to say one's better than the other. Try to match it with the car, make it work.
All right, guys, so we're at 234. We said how much? 90. So that's 324. Add the subwoofers, 169 a piece, totaling to 338. 25. I mean, where are we at now, Kip?
We've exceeded the amount of money we need to even worry about calculating, because the thing is, it's a lot of money if you're going to build your own custom enclosure. And 25 had a comment here. There are lots.
Carpet for what?
There are lots of great prefab boxes that are available out there already built, and the key to that is if a company is making this box 1,000 times, they've got scale. They can build them faster. They can there's a lot lower cost in getting that thing out there. But I don't want what you discussed there either to take away from someone wanting to build a custom box. I think for me, I'm going to tell you what I think, and I want you to key in with your opinion. I think for me what it boils down to is you need to figure out what is your realistic, what kind of performance are you wanting out of this subwoofer enclosure that you're going to invest time and money into your car. Are you wanting to just add a little bit of bass to the factory system? Are you wanting more than a little bit of bass to the factory system? Are you wanting to have a system that's heard 4 blocks away? Are you wanting a system that floats bricks and babies? And once you decide, for you, because none of those answers are wrong, once you decide what performance level you're looking for, honestly, there are enclosures that are going to help slot you into all those categories. So like if you just want a little bit of bass to add to a factory system so that you got a little bit of that low end, man, adding a pre-made down firing or behind seat firing dual 8 with the passive radiator, it's already done, built, the drivers are loaded. All you have to do is hook the amplifier to the terminal cups. That's going to do a great job. If you're looking for something that you want to hear 3-4 blocks when you do that kind of thing, well, there are lots of great preloaded or pre-made enclosures you can buy and then throw in whatever drivers you like to do that. And that's probably the way to go. And then at that point right there, you're crossing that line between, am I now going to need to do a custom box to take up as much air volume as I want in my particular vehicle to get the performance I want? Because once you go to the bricks and floating baby stage, you're building. you're not buying anything.
Right.
You know, we kind of did that thing with the quad box, and we sell a ton of those boxes where, you know, it's a prefab box ready to go that in most cases will do 100, right out of the box, throw 2,000 to 3,000 watts on the box. We recommend a KICKER 2400-ish amplifier, and that thing does 150 all day long, musical, out of a pre-made enclosure. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, we didn't become number one in enclosures in the world for nothing, right?
We paid everybody off. That's
Right.
what we did. We paid everybody off to do that.
You know, it actually, when we talk about enclosures, and it's funny when we do trainings, people are always like, wow, you guys are number one. I'm like, man, I'd hate to be number two.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to. Mike Craner, 9-ply pine has been really popular. What's y'all thoughts compared to MDF? You know, Mike, this is a controversial subject, and I don't mind talking about it because, you know, opinions are like Camaros and other things. Everybody's got one. Here's the thing. I like MDF or HDF material. I don't dislike it. It's dirty. I hate cutting it. I hate breathing around it. You know, this is one of those cases where I definitely want to wear some kind of mask to try to keep the dust out from breathing in all that stuff that's in there. But from a sound quality aspect, as far as how it works, there's nothing wrong with MDF or HDF particle board. You don't want to get it wet. And MDF and HDF are used just about exclusively in the home audio side because it's an inexpensive material that they can then put whatever finish they want on it with a thin veneer, and it sounds good. So I'm not anti-MDF or HDF, but you have to understand it is a dirty material to work with when you're cutting it. If you're going to do shaping, MDF, HDF routers well, it takes a shape well. There's lots of things you can do with it that it's harder to do with a real wood material like a plywood.
You get splinters and stuff coming out.
Yeah, all sorts of. I mean, because MDF and HDF, it's literally made from what's on the ground. I mean, when they cut up real wood, they just scrape up whatever's left and then glue it together into these sheets. And so there could be little slivers of metal in there. There's all sorts of stuff that can be in the material. When you move to, Baltic birch, everyone knows sings the praises of Baltic birch or a void-free plywood of some kind, or as you're saying here, 9-ply pine wood. You want it, if you move to plywood, you want to make sure it's void-free, because the thing that can happen is whatever material you choose to use, if there's voids in it, and understand the way plywood is made is it's thin veneers of real wood that are glued to another thin veneer of real wood. So if there is a defect in the gluing process where maybe there wasn't enough glue in an area, or there's a void, which would be a knot hole. So here you got layer 1, layer 2, and then here's layer 3, and it's got a great big knot hole in it, and it's not fully sealed down or didn't get enough adhesive to it on either side. Those things can vibrate and add noise to your enclosure, which is what you don't want. You don't want your box to resonate or add sound to it. You can use any of those materials and end up with a fantastic box. If you're going to go down the route of wanting to do some kind of a clear or a stain or something, yeah, I'd advise you to look at some type of a good plywood, because if that's the finish you want, those are the only materials that make sense to do that with. If you're wanting to keep I would want to say usually keep your costs down, but all woods are expensive right now, including MDF. But MDF, it's routerable. You can round the corners, you can wrap it with carpet, you can do panels, you can do whatever, and end up with a great looking enclosure that no one really knows is MDF other than the fact you've covered it with carpet. So I don't want to champion one over the other. I'll tell you the pros and cons. MDF is dirty to work with. There's a lot of dust. Plywoods are cleaner to work with. They don't have as much of that fine dust issue to deal with. You want to make sure you're using good plywood so you don't get into voids and things like that. You're going to get a great performance out of either one depending on the box you choose.
So again, your preference.
Your preference.
Whatever you got, whatever you like, however much extra work you're willing to do. RCN11THACR. I'm not even going to try to do that one. Honest question. How much interest in an L7X 8-inch is required before KICKER would consider building an 8-inch version? Well, that's a great question. We've actually asked for input here on the UnMasked channel. We tell you to reach out through our social and give us your comments on that. Feel free to reach out directly to Bill Frog, social@kicker.com's email address. We want to know if there's enough interest, and I don't want to tell you what that line in the sand is, but it's just, how many people are going to respond. We would look at that, not only how many respond, but what do they say when they respond. We do know through UnMasked here that people have asked, they said, yeah, man, we'd love to see an 8. We'd love to see a 6.5. We'd love to, if Andy's in the feed, which I'm sure he still is. I'm not on the live side right now, I'm on the starred side, but he's like an 18. We hear you. Just understand, out of the gate, it's going to be an L7X 10, 12, and 15, and we are gauging input from all of you
to decide if there's enough interest level to do a different size driver to add to that lineup. So don't stop the comments, keep them coming. It's a great question. I'm glad that that one was in there. Thanks for adding that to the feed, Bill. I appreciate that. Great question. Give us feedback. What's the number? What's how much the feedback? I don't have an answer for that. I'd be fooling you if I told you I knew, but we want to hear it. Let us know. How about a plexi box from Kicker? I don't know.
You know John Myers?
John Myers. That's a good
Put some
one.
LEDs in there for you too.
City Jenkins, how about a plexi box from Kicker? You never know. You know, as far as we go, when we build boxes, the thing for Kicker is we don't really want to be in the blank box business. I mean, we're not building boxes to sell them blank. When we build a box, we're going to preload it with our drivers and sell it as a complete system. So if we were to ever consider doing plexi as a material, it would be something we'd incorporate into a pre-made enclosure that makes sense for us. Plexi, there's more cost, obviously, than if you just leave that panel made out of wood. You got to cut the hole, you got to router it, you got to seal the plexi so it doesn't vibrate. You're adding cost and complexity to the box. I'm not saying you can't do it, but we would have to see some kind of value on that. And if you're adding plexi to a box, to me, it would only really make sense is if we're also then incorporating some kind of lighting, because that's what you'd want to see is
Mirrors,
the driver
but then
and
there's
some lights.
extra stuff they can break.
But great question. Great question. So what else you got? I don't want to cut you off. I'm just trying to answer some of these questions that are here.
Trying to get my train of thought here because I'm looking at your questions too.
Oh,
They're all really good questions. All right, so why buy a Kicker box? We just talked about purpose designed, purpose built. The same team that designed the subwoofer has designed the enclosure for the perfect performance for that subwoofer, right? What else makes it appealing, Kip? I mean, is it
a preloaded Kicker box?
Yeah.
Here's the thing for me, what's appealing to it is, again, I'm going to go back to understand the goals you want to achieve. And if you're realistic with the goals you're wanting to achieve, it's going to help you decide, where do I slot myself into this world of subwoofer enclosures? Do I buy a preloaded enclosure that a brand has put a lot of engineering and R&D time and testing in to make it so it's just ready to go? Or am I going to be someone who's, I want to buy a pre-made enclosure from XYZ, and I'm going to buy woofers from PDQ, and I'm going to marry them together because I really don't want to build the enclosure, but here's a great enclosure that does what I want, which is, hold the amount of drivers the size I want. And then last but not least is go custom, whether you do it yourself or you're hiring someone to do it for you. And you need to decide, I lean on this, Carlos, is you need to be realistic and know what performance level are you looking for, and it's going to help you make that decision. There are many times when you are going to be better off if we have the conversation and figure out this is the performance goals that you have. I would be doing you a disservice by not selling you a preloaded Kicker enclosure, because it's using great wood, great materials, great fasteners. We use threaded inserts on everything. It's a real piece of hardware holding the woofer in. We have great terminal cups on ours. It's actually the spring-loaded, heavy metal, full metal binding posts that we use. The finish, if you've ever got a chance to look at a Kicker carpeted box, they're carpeted because they're MDF guys. But the finish on our carpet, I'll use the word exquisite. I don't think there's anyone out there.
Carpet.
No, these boxes look fantastic. So if the performance level you're looking for can be satisfied by an amplifier in that, and I want to discount the quad box. Please don't consider the quad box.
Yeah.
That's a different equation.
It's a different animal.
But we make like 17 different enclosures that all work well with up to 500 watts, which 500 watts is a realistically sized amplifier for someone who doesn't want to upgrade their alternator, upgrade their battery, worry about the big three or any of those kind of things, and they're going to get great bass response. So if that'll achieve it, and that makes you happy, and the performance level that does it, I would actually be wasting your money telling you to build a custom box and go down that route. I'm going to be wasting your money, I'm going to be wasting your time. But if I know that the performance expectation you have is not in that arena of preloaded enclosures, well, now it's a different conversation. And I can only answer the question by saying you got to be honest with yourself. Preloaded enclosures have their place, and they work fantastic. And then once you exceed what their capability is, then that opens you up to, now am I going to build my own box or whatever else? I mean, that's my honest opinion about it.
You got to set expectations and know what your limitations are going to be. And I mean, I was kind of leading you there, Kip. I mean, the reason why I was saying that is the features that I like about our loaded enclosures, like we said, custom designed, right?
Yes.
Purpose built for that subwoofer, right? Kip talked about that carpet. We upgrade our carpet to a more plush carpet. You know why we did that? Well, this one's not it.
No, well, the reason I'm pointing to it is because I know
Maybe
it's
I should
hard
bring
to see
one
on
up here,
camera,
huh?
but just the quality of the carpet that's on this
Let me bring one up.
pre-made enclosure versus the quality of the carpet that's on one of our KICKER preloaded enclosures, it's not even comparable. The weight of it, the thickness of it, the
I'll put
feel
it
of
up
it,
top.
it's not even close. I mean, we truly put a lot into our preloaded enclosures, so you guys get a tremendous value out of them. So.
I'm going to move to the side. so
I
they can see.
got an extended cab truck. I don't want to take up a lot of room, but I'd like to get a little bit of bump in the back. Buying a pair of the downfiring, the TRTPs, you know, choose an 8, choose a 10, choose a 12, based on the amount of bass you're wanting to get into your vehicle. But I got to give a shout out to our good friends Pro Audio Center, Jimmy Hammond, the crew over there in Mississippi. They do a ton of crew cab trucks where they do TRTP downfirings, and they put one underneath each rear seat. Hook it up to a KICKER amplifier, you fold the seats down, you've lost no leg room, it sounds fantastic. Jimmy tells me the customers absolutely love it, but the customers who are buying that solution, again, they're not looking to float babies or bricks,
Right.
and they're also not looking for a system that's heard 4 blocks away. They just want good, clean, tight sound for them to enjoy their music in their car. You're wasting someone's time and money to just not go ahead and buy that preloaded solution and do it, because it gets the job done, and it's been built by the engineers here at KICKER who also designed the drivers. So they work well together. And JD Skater, you know, something you're getting into there, I feel another episode of this show because of the previous question on box designs. Quarter wave rule is what it's called. And basically, if you're trying to get something to quote unquote hit at the driver's seat, you want to make sure that your tune frequency of what you're doing in conjunction with your car, that a quarter wavelength of that is from the woofer face or your baffle to where you're sitting in the car. And in the old days of SPL competition, that is how the guys who knew what they were doing got the job done, because they were using quarter wave theory to get that pressure node at that particular frequency where they wanted it up on the glass or dash or wherever they're doing their measurement. So hopefully that helps you there. And maybe opens up a whole can of worms we can talk about later. But that's the answer to that question. Hopefully that helps you out, man. Carlos.
Well, to go back on these enclosures, I keep going to the enclosure, man. All right, so carpeting. Upgraded carpeting, a little bit more plush. The whole purpose of it is to avoid it from sliding around. The cheaper carpet, you're going to find that most of these over-the-counter enclosures, they're just going to slide around in the box. What happens if you're leaving your a car show in your Ford Mustang? What's going to happen with that box? It's going to roll around once you're hitting the sidewalk and all, right? When you turn around, do a 360 in your Ford Mustang. Well, that's the whole reason why we also, well, it's not the whole reason, but it's another reason why we did rounded edges on our enclosures, right? Because we know some guys are not going to screw down or bolt down their boxes,
Exactly.
right? So you don't want it to go around. It's the first thing that happens when you take that turn and that box isn't screwed down, it's going to jump around in the back of your car. First thing that happens is the edges, these pointed edges, they start getting rounded on, that carpet starts peeling back.
Very true.
Doesn't look appealing anymore. So yes, our rounded edges may give it a custom look, but it's also going to help your enclosure look better for a lot longer.
Jeff, the answer is all of them.
Now, you may or may not know all of our enclosures, every single one of them have a ton of bracing. Why do we do a ton of bracing, Kip?
We do a ton of bracing because you don't want the cabinet to resonate and color the sound, number one. And number two, especially in a downfiring enclosure like this, we want you to be able to put stuff on top of this enclosure and never worry about the integrity of the enclosure. So whether it's a tackle box, your golf clubs,
Toolbox.
groceries, toolbox, an 80-pound bag of Quickcrete that you went to Lowe's and picked up for a project at home, I'd have no problem throwing. I mean, I'm 200 pounds, you're 200 pounds probably.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Yeah, okay.
You are. I know Ken is. And
186.
We've all done demos where we stand on these boxes, and I have the utmost. I don't have a problem standing on that box, and I'm a couple hundred pounds. So
Yeah, Ken and I have both jumped on these boxes without any flexing, no problems whatsoever. So yes, a ton of bracing just so it can be, what would you say, utilitarian? You can actually use it everywhere, have no problems with them whatsoever.
I would say that as well. And, you know, a shout Buddha Acoustics. I know, seen you in lots of other feeds too, man. Thanks for being here tonight. I think preloaded enclosures are perfect for the average consumer looking for an upgrade, especially when the alternative is a poorly built prefab on the shelf in the same shop. Completely agree with that statement, 100%. I don't disagree with that at all.
Again, we don't want to tell anybody, don't build a box. If you want to build a box, you have the tools, you have the time, and you have the ability, please build a box.
Flexin 500, aren't the preloaded kicker boxes on the smallest side of the sub-specs? The answer to that is yes. When we do the preloaded enclosures, again, as I told you guys, if you were here in the beginning, it's a balancing act, and we need to make enclosures that are compact enough to ship, hit length, width, and height the measurements and weights that we want to, also fit into the vast majority of vehicles that we're targeting for them, and give you good performance. And so our engineers, when they're doing this, yes, I mean, it's a balancing act where we start at a certain volume and maybe we're not getting the performance level we want, so we increase the volume, do some more testing, and then you might reach another, we go, oh yeah, man, this is great at this level, and then we look at the size of the box and go, yeah, but this isn't realistic for a pre-made enclosure for that type of customer. So then we pull the box back down. So we might end up giving up a little bit of the performance because the box could have been a little bit bigger, but it's a trade-off between the overall size of the box versus the number of people who can utilize that pre-made design in their vehicles. And as you know, there's no doubt about it. Everything in life is about balance and trade-offs. And so yes, our preloaded enclosures, we try to make them a realistic size for both shipping and the applications that are out in the field. And we probably do lean towards the smaller side of the recommended box specs for them to get that job done. Hopefully that answers your question. It's a good question.
Man, families are getting bigger, cars are getting smaller. Well, make sure you get bass in your car, right?
Absolutely. You want to get some great sound in your car. And like I said, what's cool in my job here, his job here, is we get exposed to a lot of different products and a lot of different vehicles because we're testing them, we're trying them. Sometimes our own vehicles become test beds for products that we're working on. And it really amazes me. I go back to Tim's vehicle with those two dual 10s in his full-size truck. Man, that truck sounds fantastic, and it's taking up no room behind the seat. He's not gonna float a towel and babies in the windshield, but that's not what he built the truck for. He wants it so that he can drive it to shows, show off the truck, appreciate the lifestyle with others, and have a great sounding audio system, full bandwidth. His vehicle plays all the way down to 20 hertz. It plays 20 hertz material. It's just not floating babies and bricks 20 hertz material. So I keep coming back to that, and I think it's going to become my new mantra for anything is you got to be realistic on what you want out of your system, and then let's go find what fits you into there at the most economical, ready to go price point and performance package.
Thought your mantra was going to be floating babies and bricks.
Well, I'm always trying to float babies and bricks. I mean, who isn't? I mean, it's obviously the thing. So folks, you got anything else to add?
I'm happy to have you back, man.
I'm happy to be back, man. Thank you. Think about what you've got on topic here, because what I want to do, whoever had the over-under, I'm going to get grief now. About right there. That right there is the big punch in the sucker face that I'm looking for. Everybody out there tuning in, it's 9:07. Let's get the contest drawing out of the way for the night because we need to get some prizes out to all of you out there to tune in tonight, and then we'll wrap it up with Carlos, see if he's got anything he wants to add to this last one, or if we have a couple good questions, we'll do that. So Ernie's back there having a hoot. He's laughing his tail off, I can tell. So with that said, I'm going to pull back and say, Mr. Bill Brown, do we have some winners of the prize contest tonight? There's that yep I've been missing for 3 weeks. Thank you, Bill. We definitely have 3 winners on tap for tonight. We've got our third place winner is going to get the EB400s. You're going to get the t-shirt and you're going to get the koozies. Our second place winner, you're picking up the Tabor 2s, shirt and the koozies. And our grand prize winner tonight, you're getting, which is great, thanks to Jeremy. This all comes out of his budget. Man, Cush NCs, and I love mine. I guess they're great sounding headphones. So Cush NCs, the t-shirt, and the koozies. Instructions for all of you who are winners. Bill Frog will be reaching out to you in the morning with an email announcing to you you're the winner. Please respond within 7 days. It's part of the contest rules. We need you to reply. It doesn't happen very often, but we have had some people that just never reply or they take forever to reply. You got to reply within 7 days or you forfeit your prize, number one. Number two, we need your shipping address, and it cannot be a P.O. box, so please give us a non-P.O. box shipping address. We also need you to confirm your shirt size As you know, he's wearing an extra medium.
Extra medium.
Extra medium.
Can't find it.
It's my new word for the day, extra medium. And, you know, we just don't want to put him into a medium small because it just didn't look right. He needs an extra medium. So confirm your shirt size in the email. That way we know in the drop-down box you selected. You know, if you're in a hurry and got back to the show, you might have accidentally selected the wrong size. And last but not least, and this is probably the most serious part of the show, we need a phone number to contact you. It goes into the shipping information. It doesn't matter if we send this to you by FedEx, UPS, USPS, DHL, or carrier pigeon. We need a phone number to go into the contact form because if they can't find your address on the other end, they need to be able to contact you so that they can find where to find you or arrange for you to come to their hub and pick it up. We do not use your phone number for any marketing purposes. It is just for the shipping information. Promise, cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. I think that's what I said when I was a kid. So with that said, Bill, who's winner number 3 tonight on the Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly Tuesday Funathon? Winner number 3 is Uriel C. from Illinois. Uriel C., Illinois. Congratulations. Thank you for tuning into the show tonight. And your lucky winner number 3 tonight.
Uriel.
Uriel. Okay, you say it.
Roll that R. Uriel C.
I can't. The only thing I can roll is a soft taco. Other than that, it ain't getting rolled.
Yeah, and you do it in flour tortilla.
Whatever. Flour or corn. I'll do either one. But, man, I can't roll my R's. But say it.
Uriel.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. You are our 3rd place winner. Look for the email from Bill tomorrow and get us that information back. You're going to get those EB400s, the T-shirt, and the koozies. And thank you for tuning in to Kicker Unmasked. We appreciate you spending time with us. Bill, who's winner number dos? Giovanni A. from Louisiana. Giovanni A., you are our 2nd place winner tonight. You're getting the Tabor 2s, the T-shirt, and the koozies. Thank you for tuning in tonight and spending some time with us here at Kicker Unmasked Live. We appreciate it more than you know, and thank you for being a winner. Get that prize. Man, be sure you post pics up at social. We want to see you enjoying your stuff.
I think that one's pronounced Giovanni.
Oh, man, you're just Giovanni. Okay, it's Giovanni or Giovanni. We're going to argue this for a while.
Let us know.
Yeah, tell us somehow. Send a carrier
Who's
pigeon.
right?
Send a
Skip or
recording
Carlos?
being carrier pigeon so we can figure it out. And that brings us to the grand prize winner tonight. You're going to pick up the Cush NCs, the koozie, and the Kicker Unmasked Live shirt. You know, the only way you get these unmasked shirts is to tune into the show. So this is a great opportunity to pick up those up when you spend your time here with us. And that brings us to Bill Frog pushing the button and showing us that winner number 1 tonight is... Tonight's final winner, number 1, Roger L. And I know that's not Roger. Or maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe he shops at Target and it's Roger.
It's Roger.
Roger at Target. So Roger L. from Florida. Man, I like Florida. I like Florida.
I like Florida.
I like Florida too. Roger L. from Florida, congratulations. You are our grand prize winner tonight. You're going to get those Cush NCs, the T-shirt, and the koozies. Whatever other goodies Sandy throws into the box. I know she throws a little knick-knack paddywhack and gives the dog a bone into the box. So there's some extra stuff. She takes care of you. Fantastic. I want to thank everyone for tuning into the show tonight. I am glad to be back, glad to be seen, glad to be on the show. I almost feel like I didn't mess up too much.
I don't think you messed up at all.
Too much. I'm looking at the comments here to see if there's any other great comments that needs to come up. I'm going to go over here to the live section real quick, scroll to the bottom. Mustang
3
hitting.
Mustangs hitting sidewalk. They know what I'm talking about. You've been to car shows.
Mustangs, sidewalks, groups of people? I don't know. Who knows that answer? But you know what? It's been a great show. Do you have any other final comments on the topic tonight as far as the enclosures, Carlos?
No, other than, guys, if you need information on building an enclosure, hit our tech support team. They're a good fountain of information for you guys. They're happy to help you out. What's the number, Kip?
If you need, and this is serious, I mean, we talked about this earlier in the show before we went on. Some of the best things that we can do for you here on Unmasked is let you know where to get more answers if you need them. There's 220 plus employees that work here at Stillwater Designs, whether it's in engineering, sales, R&D, technical, customer support, electronic repair, shipping, receiving. Who am I forgetting? I mean, did I touch all the departments?
I think everybody.
Human resources,
accounting,
purchasing, I mean the whole
maintenance.
I mean, and who doesn't appreciate a good trip to the HR department? I'm looking forward to it. How about you?
Yeah.
So, you know, but if you've got questions about Kicker products, whether it's before you buy the product, while you're buying the product or after you buy the product, I highly encourage you to reach out always. We have people who actually answer a phone here. I know it's a crazy thing. Live people answer a phone. But you can call us all the time. And I don't know if Bill's got this in a scrolling thing to go at the bottom. If not, we need to add this at some point. But it's 800-256-0808. You can get that number right off the kicker.com website as well. But that is the 800 number to call straight into Kicker. It's on our dime. Of course, you're calling on a cell phone. I don't think there is a thing as a long distance call anymore. But
What's long distance?
Anymore? Yeah, it's like it doesn't exist. But seriously, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central Time to 5 p.m. Central Time, customer service and tech support are there for you. Whether it's an RMA for a product you're having a problem with, trying to figure out what box you can build. I can't stress this enough, guys. If you're dealing with kicker drivers and you want help on box design, simply measure. We just need to know what's the maximum. How wide, how tall, and how deep maximum can we go and build you a box? How much room are you either willing to give up or can give up in the vehicle? If you've got those measurements and you call in and ask to talk to any of the great guys up in support, they have FineBox, which is a real engineering type program that interfaces with our R&D department, and they also have Term Pro. They can use either one or both. They can work up box designs for you guys. They can calculate the amount of volume you have. They can help give you recommendations. You know, you may have 15-inch eyes, but the amount of volume you've got is really designed for a 10-inch driver. And if you don't have the airspace for it to work properly, you need to get the right size driver. The right size driver in the amount of volume you have is always going to perform better than trying to shove a bigger driver into too small a box. And we have, I think, some of the best tech support that's in the industry. They're here Monday through Friday. Call them and ask. If you got a problem with your amplifier or you're trying to find a way how to use a key lock or any of those questions, call them and ask. That's what they are here for. And I can't give them enough props. They answer a ton of phone calls and a ton of emails, and they are a great department. So reach out to them, pre-sale question, during the sale question, or after. They're always going to be here for you. So thank you.
Probably the nicest guys
they are.
And support, any kind of support.
They are. They're fantastic guys, and support matters. So any issue you got, any questions you got, man, reach out, talk to us at kicker.com. That's what we're here for. T. Corley, we're glad to have you back, man. T. Corley, it's glad to be seen. I'm glad to be back, and I'm looking forward to being back next Tuesday, too. Obviously, we kind of dropped it. I know I'm going to... Ernie doesn't know yet, but we're doing an amp dyno next Tuesday. We're going to work it into the show. We're going to amp dyno that CX1800 because it's been asked for. So I'm going to do that next Tuesday because I promised the guy on social we would do it. So we're going to throw that in, and I'm going to have a conversation with Carlos here. If you guys are really asking these questions about, you know, more advanced box designs, I don't want to go too far down that path, but I'm willing to go there to let you know what they are, because I honestly believe those exotic box designs are not for the majority of people. It's not that I don't want to talk about them, but we can touch on them. So maybe we'll make that part of the topic of next week's show and have that with the dyno, and it'd be a good show.
Couldn't hurt.
Couldn't hurt a thing. So with that said, Carlos, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for letting me come back in the studio, not locking me out. Appreciate
thank you for having me, man.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be back. Thank you to everyone that's out there for the well wishes and things you said to me over the last 3 weeks. It means a lot, touched my heart. I'm glad to be back. I've got to give a special shout out, you know, besides the normal crew that we always are here in the studio. You know, you got Tim, you got Ernie, you got JW, you got Bill Frog, and, you know, I'm normally part of that pack, but I had to abandon him for a while. But, you know, Carlos, Ken, John, and Aaron, which are the Kicker Tech Force, and these are the guys that focus on going out and training literally all of our dealers in the world. You guys stepped it up. You came in here. You brought your A game. I couldn't watch all the shows, but I did watch last week's show and saw what you guys did, and I went back and rewatched some of the previous ones. You guys did a fantastic job, and
those guys are awesome.
I'm honored and blessed that I had you guys to step in and do that, and I can't say thank you. And to the rest of you, I mentioned, you know, Aaron, Ken, John, guys, I can't thank you enough for stepping in and taking up the slack. It really means a lot to me that you guys are willing to sacrifice your time on a Tuesday to come in here and fill this slot so that we could continue bringing this show to everyone who wants to stay involved. So thank you, guys. I mean that sincerely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that said, it's my pleasure to be Kip, the host of Kicker Unmasked Live Weekly, back in the saddle, hoping to stay here. Any other virus or bug, I'll just kick it in the head and send it home. As always, we got Tim chilling and relaxing behind cameras, taking care of that duty tonight. We got Ernie in the back, always on the main switcher, trying to keep him up to speed, or he's trying to keep us up to speed. JW handling the StreamYard feed, along with Bill Frog handling social, and then my good friend Carlos joining us here tonight in the studio. It's our pleasure to be the 6 individuals here tonight doing this show for you, to represent the 220 plus Kicker employees who research, design, tool, sell, help, support everything right here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you like what we do here, man, we'd love a thumbs up, love a subscription, and we'd love to see you next Tuesday night. Have a great one. Keep the input coming. The show's based on what you guys want to see. Glad to be back. Glad to see everyone here. Have a fantastic week. Grab you that Kicker koozie and enjoy something this weekend. I'm going to. Have a good one.
Later, guys.